Are we live?
We're good.
Can you hear us?
Whoa.
Amazing.
Live through the power of the internet.
Welcome to the Brady Bunch, everyone. This is Polkadot DeFi Demo Day. If you can hear us, drop some notes in the chat. Say hello. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Ashley Tyson. I'm a co-founder of the Web3 Foundation, which is the organization responsible for funding and supporting the Polkadot and also the Kusama ecosystems. And I am joined by my friends and former colleagues, Dan Reecer, who's the head of growth at Acala, and Rob Habermeier, who's the co-founder of Polkadot. And thank you all for being here. It seems like we've got like an amazing group of people from around the world, which is so insane because when we started Web3 Foundation back in 2017, Polkadot was just a white paper and a dream. And the vision was always about a vibrant ecosystem of blockchains, which had the ability to communicate and interoperate. But back then there wasn't much to build with. So there were a few dev teams working on different implementations of Polkadot and just a ton of anticipation of what the future could look like. So now 4 years later, Polkadot and her wild sister network, Kusama, have both launched. And the vision of interoperating blockchains, Parachains, even, is becoming closer to reality. And this is super exciting because this event is actually completely community driven. It's not a Web3 Foundation initiative. This is brought on by the teams you're going to hear from today as part of the Polkadot technical working group. And I will let Dan explain a little bit more about what that is.
Cool. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, so just for a little bit of background on the event today, we at Acala, and I know all the other teams that are involved today, really believe in this multi-chain future. Us in the Polkadot ecosystem, as well as teams in the Ethereum ecosystem, other smart contract chains, as well as Bitcoin, we really see us all working together. And today is going to be a really exciting kind of showcase of all these tech-focused, kind of product-focused teams that are building out the DeFi ecosystem of Polkadot and Kusama, as well as teams like Interlay and Snowfork, who are actually building that piping or that foundation, connecting us to Bitcoin and connecting the Polkadot ecosystem to Ethereum. As Ashley mentioned, we've kind of put together this Polkadot technical working group. This is a team of around this is a group of around 7 teams that are really focused on building out the tech and also focusing on things like standards and cross-chain message passing and things like this. So this group is going to be kind of hosting the event today. We'll go to Rob first, as Ashley mentioned. Rob will give a little bit of an overview on Parachains, and then we'll get into quick 10-minute demos from each of these teams, and then wrap up with a set of 2 panels that Cami Russo is going to be hosting. So with that, let's get into it with Rob and enjoy the day. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Also, quick note before we turn it over to Rob, this is by no means a comprehensive gathering of all the Polkadot DeFi projects, so definitely stay tuned. I think we'll be doing this quite regularly. But yeah, Rob, when?
Yeah, I'll table that to later. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Dan. Great to be here. I'm gonna, in the spirit of the demo day, I'm going to be doing a demo as well. So actually, I'm going to be diving deep. I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain through the veil into the depths of Parachains. So we're going to talk about approval checking, how the Parachains actually work. So the hardest thing with Parachains and with any kind of sharded blockchain system is this actual sharding problem of how do you get security over all of the different shards without everybody checking everything, without all of the validators checking all of the parachains, because then you wouldn't be scaling. You'd just be running 100 full nodes on a computer. So that's not what we want to do. So we have a whole protocol. It's called approval checking, and I'm going to go into it a little bit, and then I'm going to show you a demo of it running on a local testnet. So I have this pull request. It's actually been merged now, and it is a lot of code. It's 7,000 lines of code. I don't know. What I'm seeing on my screen is a gray rectangle in the top right corner covering up part of my slides. I don't know if others are seeing that, but that's not supposed to be there. I think that's an error with the screen sharing.
I think I also see some gray around
Okay.
the top right.
Well, I don't know. Look, I know how to code parachains. I don't know how to fix gray rectangles, so you're gonna bear with me. We've got around 7,000 lines of code here. We added, even more of that, tests and stuff. But obviously it's a lot of code. You got some pink bleeding Wojak action if you're trying to read this code. So it's gonna be a lot to dive into. So I made this presentation initially to sort of dive into like what are the key properties of this code without of course going into all of that code itself. So, whoa, why did it go forward so much? Okay, so let's take a step back. Our goal is to create economic security for Polkadot's parachains. We've got this idea of economic security, which is, I really don't know why it's just showing part of the last slide in the middle of the current slide. Well, our goal is to create economic security for parachains. So that's the property of making sure that we can identify which validators are behaving maliciously and slash them, right? Because when you're in the staking system, I'm sure many of you are staking, you know that if the validators you're nominating or if you yourself are a validator misbehaves, that you're going to get slashed. So it only takes a few validators to actually get a parachain block onto the relay chain, but we're most interested in slashing parachain blocks, the backers of those parachain blocks, once those parachain blocks are not only just mentioned on the relay chain, but what we would call available. So after they've distributed data to all other validators so they can recheck those things. So this is like the rough path of a parachain block. Like we have a lot of stuff going on in parallel, hence parachains. But we've got, first you've got the pink parachain block sort of being backed, and then it gets mentioned in the relay chain, and then it becomes available. So those initial backers are distributing data to all of the other validators so that that data can then be recovered later on. And you have, after you've got the purple block in there, you also have the green block in there. So I sort of use the left side of the relay chain blocks to denote things that have been backed and not mentioned and not available, and then the right side to reference blocks that have been backed and are made available. So you can see first it goes to the purple block and then the green block, and then they're both available on the very right side at that head of the chain. I want to revisit the Grandpa consensus algorithm a little bit. So the way that Grandpa works is it has nodes that sort of vote on what they think the best chain is. That'll be the longest chain that they've seen usually, and then Grandpa's going to figure out what the consensus is and like what's the longest chain that everybody agrees with, right? Like so that common prefix. The way that I like to describe it is, if you look at Bitcoin, the idea is that with Bitcoin proof of work or Ethereum proof of work, if you just chop off the last like 6 blocks or 10 blocks of the chain, everybody's going to have the same chain, as long as you ignore those recent blocks. But what Grandpa does is it puts a deterministic consensus on top of that. So you can really recognize immediately when nodes agree that the chain, on the section of the chain that they all have consensus over. So you can see that these 3 nodes have different ideas of what's at the very head of the chain, but they all agree on blocks A, B, and C, so those can be considered finalized. So here's another sort of representation of that. These first 4 blocks are all finalized, where even though there may be other sort of chains coming off of those. So what we're trying to do is actually write a custom voting rule for Grandpa. So the idea is that it's okay if bad parachain blocks get into some branch of the relay chain, but they can't get into the finalized branch of the relay chain. So they should never be voted on within Grandpa. So we have the finalized chain, we have this Grandpa voting zone, which is voting on things that contain parachain blocks that are all good. And then we have this approval checking code where it's zone where it's like, we're not even sure if the parachain blocks referenced within these relay chain blocks are good, but they might be. So this is where the actual checking is happening, all the way over on the right side. In the middle is where like we think stuff is good and we're going to vote to see, you know, what gets finalized. And then on the very left is the stuff that's been finalized already. So that's the voting rule trait for you know, if you were writing code for that. So our finalization rule is vote to finalize, let's say, this block in the middle, only if the green parachain block is good, but also only if the purple parachain block is good. So that is, you know, the point is that you don't want to vote on a block unless that block and all of the ones before it are good. So I could go way more in depth with this, but I'm gonna stop after this slide to sort of sum up what we're talking about with the approval checking. Is we'd like the network to finalize only blocks which contain good parachain blocks. We can only control the behavior that honest nodes have. Of course, we have a you know, we have this assumption that there are going to be attackers on the network. Up to 1/3 of nodes may be attacking the network. So what we're going to do is produce a voting rule that creates our desired finalization behavior in the network, which is, again, that we only finalize relay chain blocks that contain good parachain blocks. So to sum that up in English, we want to select a block B to vote on, a relay chain block, which is just going to be the longest chain. We're going to find the highest ancestor of that chain such that all blocks between the last finalized block and that ancestor only contain good parachain candidates. And then we vote to finalize on that. But this is only a short session. So what I'm going to do now is come over to the terminals. And I have spun up a 6-node testnet, 6 validators, 3 parachains. What we can see is actually validators including parachain blocks into the relay chain. They're first putting them into the relay chain, then they're distributing the available data, then they're self-selecting to check those blocks, broadcasting assignments that they have been checked, recovering the data, doing the validation, checking them, and then broadcasting approval votes. So you can see there's a lot of action here. There's like nodes telling them, okay, I'm assigned to check this thing, and then other nodes saying, okay, you're assigned to check that, so I won't do it. Okay, then they check it, then they broadcast the assignment. So there's this sort of flurry of activity constantly going on that's finalizing parachain blocks. And what we can see is that this is a representation of like which relay chain blocks we consider good. So we can see like within this window of 50 blocks from 312 to 263, all of those blocks have been sufficiently approved by validators. So, you know, if sometimes you'll see like the first one isn't approved, but they actually get approved fairly quickly. And those will be up to like, you know, three parachain blocks per relay chain block, since we're running as a 3 parachain network. Anyway, that was my very brief whirlwind presentation of approval checking. It's a fun topic to dig into. There's certainly lots of materials on it in the implementer's guide, but for there, I will wrap it up and hand it off to our wonderful community members.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Next up, we're going to have Aiden from Snowfork. So Aiden, I think I just sent you a invite up onto the screen. And Aiden's going to be talking about Snowfork, which is the bridge between Polkadot and Ethereum, and I believe potentially Kusama and Ethereum as well. So Aiden will talk through that. There he is.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Cool. So we're good to go?
Good to go. So if you want to share your screen, you would just hover over your own video. There's a share screen button, and then I'll just be in the background. Got it.
Cool. So hey, everyone. I'm Aiden from Snowfork. And as described, we're building a bridge between Polkadot and Ethereum. There's a few kind of interesting, unique characteristics about our bridge in that it's fully trustless and decentralized. And we achieve that by running full light clients on both chains. So on Polkadot, there's a light client for Ethereum, and on Ethereum, there's a light client for Polkadot. And another aspect is that it's general purpose. So I'm going to jump right into the demo so I can show you where we're at and how things are working. So the first thing you can see here is I'm busy looking at the logs of our relayer. The relayer is this microservice that runs in the middle of the two that's responsible for sending state back and forward between the chains. It's not at all trusted. Anyone can run the relayer. The relayer code can be malicious. It can be modified, and that won't compromise the protocol in any way. At the moment, you can see the relay is watching for new Ethereum blocks and headers, and it's taking those Ethereum headers and relaying them over to substrate, to our parachain. And essentially, with every header, the parachain is doing a full line check of the proof of work in that header, making sure that it's like the longest, heaviest chain on Ethereum, and then updating the latest known header chain state on Ethereum. We have a similar process for going in the other direction, where we send updates of what's happening on the Polkadot relay chain over to Ethereum and incorporate them into a smart contract. I'm not demoing that today, but we're almost done with it. And so we've got a little front-end demo that I can show you. There's kind of a few caveats to it. So firstly, a lot of this is in work in progress state. So there may be a few issues here and there. And the front-end demo especially has still got a lot of UX polish to do. So the UI and UX is not fully formalized yet. So don't judge us based on that. Primarily want to focus on the functionality for you to see. So here we've got our Snowbridge demo page. You can see I've got my Ethereum wallet connected and my Polkadot wallet connected, and I already have some ETH and some Snow ETH that I've got from having transferred it over. This first screen, when you refresh the page and open it up, is one which you can use to send your Ethereum across to Polkadot. So here, for example, I'm going to send 5 ETH across. It's intended to be like really simple. Your address is automatically populated. It's just put in the amount and click the send button. And then your MetaMask shows up to deposit your ETH. I'm going to confirm, and the transaction is submitted. This is not currently connected to Ropsten. I'm running this locally, so I need to scan. But here you can see the transaction list and what's happening. And so first thing we're doing is we're waiting for the transaction to get confirmed on Ethereum. And when that happens, this bubble should go green, and it goes on to the next step. There we go, we're done. This next step is about relaying the message to Polkadot. So logs, it's processing blocks, and the relayer just got a message you can see here, and it's sending that message over to Polkadot, and we get a green bubble. It's just been relayed to Polkadot. If we go look at our parachain, you can see there's been recently, I think this is the new one, the ETH minted event, and Ethereum has been minted to my Polkadot account, and it should be good. So we just sent 5 ETH across. So when I refresh, you should see my Snow ETH amount go up by 5 and my Ethereum wallet go down by 5. We're going to incorporate like automated refresh in time. And there you go. So now I'm down to 92 ETH, and 5 of my ETH have gone across and now exists on Polkadot on our parachain. Now I want to send the ETH back. So I just tap this button to do the reverse flow, and I can go again and say I want to send 5 Snow ETH back, and click the send button. Here now my Polkadot wallet comes up, and I'm going to sign the transaction and send it across. It's submitted. And now we're waiting for it to get included in our Polkadot block. So if we go look at our parachain, you can see, oh, there's the ETH.burned event. So the message has just been burned and included in our parachain. The front end should detect this in a minute. There we go. And now we wait for it to get relayed over to the Ethereum side. So again, I'm going to watch the relayer. And this takes a little longer because our process for relaying across is a little bit more complicated. Essentially, we have a custom commitment scheme that our parachain uses to create commitments for the messages that come through. And so on Ethereum, we can kind of verify these commitments in a much more efficient way that allows us to save gas and optimize. And so once every 10 or so blocks on our parachain, these commitments are all joined together and sent across. And here you can see the relay just found a commitment, and it relayed it over to Ethereum. And you can see it submitted the transaction to Ethereum with this new commitment, which includes a bundle of a bunch of messages. And if we go back, you can see all the bubbles are green, the transaction is done. And so now if I refresh, you'll see my balances have gone back to what they originally were. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So now I've got back to 97 ETH and back down to 2 Snow ETH. And so that's a full round trip of Ethereum. We've also got functionality working for ERC20 tokens. So locally, I've got this like test token over here set up and developed. And so I can demo sending the test token back and forward. It's very much a similar process. With tokens, of course, first you need to do approval. So you can see I've got 100 balance. I've already approved 40 tokens beforehand just to make it easier to demo. And so I can put in the amount and send the tokens across. Again, we get the same nice progress bubbles that show you each step of the way. We're also going to be adding links. So whenever you click on one of these, you'll get linked out to an actual block explorer, so where you can like really introspect things and just from a kind of user perspective, help users see exactly where their funds are going and how they're being handled, so that there's no uncertainty from the user perspective. You can see the ERC20 minted has just happened and been included in our Parachain. And so if I go and refresh, you should see my ERC20 balance drop down to 20. If I go to here, yeah, my ERC20 balance is only, so it went down from 100 to 80, and my allowed balance went down from 40 to 20. If I go to the reverse to send the 20 back and send it, sign the transaction. And now we've got to wait for that whole special commitment scheme relaying process that I mentioned to happen again. For example, if multiple people are using the system at the same time, then their messages will also get bundled together into a single commitment for much cheaper gas price optimizations. That commitment is also verified, and through the verification process, we verify both what's happening on our Parachain through our custom commitments, as well as what's happening on the Polkadot relay chain through verifying Big Grandpa relay chain block production process. We should see the new commitment come across in a bit. And if you look at our Parachain, you can see this burned message happened and went through. So this could take a few more blocks. But essentially, yeah, that's the full process for Ethereum and ERC20 tokens. Another interesting thing to point out is that the core bridge protocol, oh, by the way, you can see here the commitment was found and this succeeded. So if I refresh, I should be back to 100 tokens. Yeah, there we go. And so the last interesting thing to mention is this application that we've developed is just a demo for sending ETH and ERC20 tokens back and forth. But really, for the whole bridge and the relayer and all of our infrastructure, they don't know anything about assets. They don't know anything about tokens. It's implemented underneath the application with completely arbitrary messaging passing. And so we can develop any kind of application, cross-chain application on top of the bridge. It doesn't necessarily have to do anything to do with asset transfer. It could be for NFTs, it could be for DeFi, and you'll be able to send messages back and forth for any kind of application rather than just for simple asset transfer. And that's all already working today. We don't have a nice front-end demo of any special non-asset transfer stuff yet, but we're planning to do that next. And yeah, that ends my demo.
Awesome. Thanks, Aiden. Appreciate the conversation. I'm going to move on quickly. This is going to be basically a lightning round. So I'm going to add Alexei, who's going to start talking about the Bitcoin bridge, and Dom. So as Aiden just walked through, he walked through the bridge that's going to Ethereum. The way this will work is the bridge will actually bring assets to the core Polkadot relay chain itself. And then all the parachains that are talking today and any other parachains in the future will be able to essentially plug into that bridge and take these assets that have come over from Ethereum. So you'll have the Snow ETH coming over, potentially even NFTs in the future coming in from Ethereum. And then Alexei and Dom are going to talk about the Bitcoin bridge and how PokaBTC works. We've got Alexei.
All right. So let's save Dom joins. All right, there we go. Can you see that?
Yep. And Dom, I invited you on if you can hear. To accept the invite.
Cool. Does it work? Is he on?
He's not on yet. Your screen is working, and I think Dom will be on in a second.
All right, I'll get going, and let's hope he joins in the meantime. So hey, I'm Alexei. I'm here together with Dom. We're the two co-founders of Interlay, and we're building PolkaBTC to bring Bitcoin to the Polkadot DeFi ecosystem. This is a project funded by the Web3 Foundation grant, and we're working closely with Web3 and Parity to make this possible. So what is PolkaBDC? PolkaBDC is the trustless and decentralized Bitcoin Polkadot bridge built using the Xclaim framework. The Xclaim framework is something Dominic and I designed and implemented during our times at Imperial College. Back then it was just a research project, and now we're actually bringing this to life on top of Polkadot. So what is PolkaBDC? PolkaBDC is a one-to-one BTC-backed asset on Polkadot. This means that you lock Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain and you mint one-to-one backed PolkaBDC. Now, the trick here is that you lock this with a collateralized vault. It's an intermediary that is fully collateralized, and anyone can become a vault, and it's a fully decentralized set of participants. Now, once you have PolkaBDC and Polkadot, you can then move it to any parachain and use it within any application within the Polkadot ecosystem. And when you decide to go back, you can always get your BTC back, or if the system fails and everything breaks down, you'll get reimbursed in collateral at a beneficial rate. So in the worst case, you actually make a profit. So why do we say that PolkaBDC is the most robust and most secure bridge in the entire ecosystem, not only in Polkadot? The reason for this is it's trustless and it's decentralized. And it's trustless because you can always redeem PolkaBDC for BTC, or you'll get reimbursed in DOT at the beneficial rate. And it's decentralized because there's no central authority from the start. It's decentralized from the very beginning. Anyone can become a vault or relayer, and you can run your own vault as a user. There is no registration restrictions. Anybody can participate. It's fully open. Now, the only thing you need to trust in when using this bridge is that Bitcoin works and that Polkadot works. So where are we at the moment? Actually, we've released beta this week, and I'm sure most of you have heard. It's been running for a few days, and we really welcome you to test it. What's going to happen next is we're going to get in the feedback that you provide. We're going to finish the audits, keep testing, keep making the system more robust, and then we'll be good to go to Kusama and Polkadot whenever they're launched. So what's new in this version since the last time we presented and since alpha? Well, we've released the Vault and Relayer clients. They're all open source. You can go ahead and run them now. We've done a full UX revamp. We've got 100% Bitcoin wallet support now. For those of you who remember alpha, we had not return and we had limited wallet support. Now that's all gone, and we support all Bitcoin wallets, including harder wallets like Ledger and Trezor. We've completed phase 2 of the audit, and we have a very detailed and new documentation page, including videos which show you how to use the system. On the research integration side, we've launched Rococo, where we've got XMP to work, and we're actually already working on first integrations with other parachains, and we've built a new on-chain key derivation scheme. This is essentially a very technical component that makes usability much better on the system. So what's next? Next, of course, more UX improvements. We're looking for your feedback. We'll do more testing, more audits, and then also make sure that we have governance on the system. On the research side, the next steps are integrations with BTC DeFi products. We'll then add multi-oracle support. And then 2 pretty cool things that are coming up are staking derivatives, where vaults will be able to earn additional rewards on their collateral. And we're working on Xclaim 2.0, which will make the system much more secure and also reduce the collateral. And essentially, when this works, it'll be a groundbreaking change to the entire bridge ecosystem. So beta is live, and please do check it out. Go to beta.polkabdc.io to mint your first PolkaBDC. And I'm happy to announce that Polkadot Treasury allocated 1.3 thousand DOT for beta testers to earn. So stay tuned, follow us on Twitter to hear about the challenges. So I'm handing over to Dom now. I hope he's online.
I'm here.
Perfect.
Let me share the screen real quick. Okay, cool. All right, so thanks for the intro, Alexei. And then now what I'm going to show is the demo. And this is going to be an interesting demo because I'm demoing directly on our live beta system. So it depends a bit what load we currently have. But if you hit our beta website, you will be greeted basically with this. So we currently have 8.1 PolkaBDC logged and or issued, and we have a bunch of DOT collateral. Fair note, this is all like fake DOT just for testing purposes, and also the Bitcoin are not real. But we are using the actual Bitcoin test network, and what I'm going to do now is basically walk you through the flow real quick. So basically what you would do here is you would enter the amount of PolkaBDC that you want to receive, and you get shown like a bridge fee here. This is still kind of work in progress, so this will likely change from mainnet. A small security deposit to kind of prevent griefing of the vaults because it's kind of decentralized system, and then it shows you the total deposit. And what I just do is I hit confirm, and then my Polkadot.js pops up. I sign the transaction, and this gets then mined. I think since we're on the actual beta live test network, there's a slight delay here at the moment. But what's happening in the background right now is we are doing this kind of magic trick where a vault gets a new BTC address. So for every request, we are using a new deposit address for the vault, and we are creating this on-chain. And once this is done, you will see basically here, and it will ask you to actually send a Bitcoin transfer with that amount to this specific vault address, and you have to do that within 24 hours. Slight side note, we also added this milli BTC because some Bitcoin wallets show it like that, and you can also just scan a QR code. This literally works with any Bitcoin wallet that supports testnet, so Electrum, or you can even use your hardware wallet, so like Ledger or Trezor, all works. I'm not going to make the payment right now, but technically what I would do is like head over to my Electrum, do the payment. Anyway, not doing that right now. But basically what you're going to see is here are my requests that I made that are still pending, so that it asked me to actually do the payment, which I didn't do yet. But if I do my payment and then it gets confirmed on the Bitcoin blockchain, you will see that you receive this request, you get this success message that you actually have PolkaBTC. And if you don't do that, if you don't make the payment within 24 hours, like the request will be canceled and you get a notification that it's canceled. So yeah, the issue step is really just this one screen basically. And then as you can see up here, I do have some PolkaBTC. So what I can also do is I can just do a redeem. And for this very purpose, I'm actually gonna create this address now. And so Electrum gives me a new address, and I'm going to enter this. Let's say I'm going to want to withdraw 0.003 PolkaBTC. I'm going to hit confirm. And again, I have to sign the transaction. And now what's happening in the background is that one of our vaults gets a request that it should send Bitcoin to me, to my address that I entered here. And this is going to pop up also down there. And once the Bitcoin transaction is actually included, it's going to be added to this one. And what you can, so now actually what you just saw is basically the event being processed on the Parachain. And once this is done, you can also easily inspect this using the Blockstream Explorer. I'm just going to wait for another second here to complete it. Yes, so basically, this is just a confirmation. And yeah, so very simple, issue and redeem. And very last thing that I want to show is basically transfer. So once you have PolkaBTC, what's going to happen is that you can just transfer it around. And what you would enter here is, say, your own address. So maybe I'm just going to copy paste my own address here real quick. And what we just added is basically, once XCM is fully functional, you could just transfer it over to Acala or to Plasm or the other projects that are basically live and will be connected as Parachains. And I'm just going to do the transfer here now. Oh, I don't have enough money to send this. This should work though. And here we go. Takes a second again for the transfer. And once it's completed, it will show a little pop-up up here. But again, we're live. Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, and that's basically it for the tech demo. There's just super small announcements. Please go to beta. Please test. We are very happy for all of the feedback we are receiving, and hopefully can improve the system even further. If you do have more questions, like our Discord is open, our Twitter and Telegram are open. And also, very last thing, importantly, we have a treasure hunt going on. So there's a prize pool of 500 DOT for the first 500 users that do issue and redeem requests on our test networks. So please go on beta.polkabtc.io, and check out the challenges. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexei. Thanks, Dom. I feel like we're witnessing a little piece of history here. We just witnessed the Ethereum bridge, the Polkadot BTC bridge, and those cover our 2 bridges for the day. Now we're going to be moving into all the Parachain teams. So we'll start with some of my coworkers at Acala, so Betty and Brian. And then we'll move on to Centrifuge, Moonbeam, which will have Balancer and Sushiswap. Then we'll move to Phala and Plasm, and then we'll wrap up with the panel. So with that, I'll just kick it over to Betty and Brian. I think Betty will start with an intro on Acala, and then Brian will do a demo for us. How's it going? Betty, I think you're muted. There you go.
Hey, good morning. It's early morning here in Auckland, New Zealand. Let me share my screen. All right, so everyone can see my screen, okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so good morning, everyone. This is Betty, co-founder of Acala. And we also have Brian, co-founder and CTO of Acala here today with us. And he's actually prepared a full real cross-chain DeFi demo for you. So I'll just be very short and very brief on my introduction. I guess before diving in, because Acala has been around for a while. Last year, we run, again, the same Polka DeFi demo. We've already run a full suite of DeFi applications. And then it's great to see this year, everyone, has got their application up and running. And it seems, we're very close to where the vision is going to be. And it's worth sharing, what we think the future might look like. I think we've got, Bitcoin, which is the calculator era. That's one thing. And then Ethereum is perhaps the mainframe era of blockchain. And now I think we are entering the so-called cloud computing, where everything as a service. That's where we're heading, I think. So we kind of believe that, future will be multi-chain, and then specialization is going to trump generalization. So your chain is going to specialize in a specific domain and do certain things really well and solve some problems very well. And also, chain shouldn't be rigid; it should be upgradable. So that's what we think it's going to happen, and also where we put our words out and build our application. So this is the Acala stack. If you haven't seen this one yet, so Acala is still a full-fledged blockchain, but its ledger and trust is provided by Polkadot. So this is what I recently termed it as network security or trust as a service. And also in the middle of it is all Acala's DeFi offerings. They're offered, a service like customizable modules, right? So for example, we've got this multi-collateral stablecoin backed by Liquid Dot, and then you will also see, Bitcoin like Polka BTC can be used as collateral as well. And then our liquidation is automatic and use a hybrid of AMM DEX and auctions. And then another thing that I think Brian will actually demo you today is liquid staking. So this is a tokenized staked dot or L dot. So it's a bit like DAI and CDAI, right? Allows you to earn staking reward while yield farming in DeFi trustlessly. And you can also see, EVM is a module on our, service modules. So we're fully EVM compatible. You can build smart contracts or any type of dApp on top of Acala. So basically, Acala offers DeFi as a service. And then, as we're demoing today, it's probably the beginning of you will see composable services. So that means dApps are composable with each other. That's a given. But also smart contracts and dApps from other blockchains will be composable with Acala and anyone who's be able to do cross-chain transactions together. So hopefully you'll get a taste of it today. And that's my introduction. I'll hand over to Brian now.
Yeah, thanks, Betty. So let me share my screen. Oops. Cool. So you should be able to see my screen now. Yeah, so this is our testnet. This is not the Mandana testnet we're running on. Yeah, so this is we especially make the Parachain testnet. So it's currently connecting to our version of Rococo. So you can see we have some Parachains connecting to it, and just yeah. So we can show some question demoing. So let's get started. So first thing you probably want to do is, well, you should have already some variable assets. There will be dots or Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum. So in this case, then if you have already a Bitcoin, you can use Polkabtc to or using Bitcoin to mint Polkabtc, and then using question transfer to transfer Polkabtc into Acala. So obviously some question transfer fee will be applied. And then once you got some Polkabtc, there's a few things you can do with it. So one thing, of course, you can do is sell it, but that's probably not the best idea. So actually, this makes some money without selling them. So that's where the stablecoin protocol comes handy. So we can start a new loan. So using the Polkabtc as the deposit. So let's say I can deposit my 0.2 Polkabtc. I will be able to borrow up to, in this case, $7,000. So I can borrow all of it, and then you see my liquidation price is this number, and my current ratio is 120%. So this is slightly on the dangerous side. So maybe it's a good idea to borrow slightly less, so I can pretty comfortable. It's unlikely Bitcoin price will drop to 30,000, hopefully. Yeah, so then next I can just review. There will be some interest rate charge on the borrowed amount. That's my current ratio. So this, I can make a transition. Yeah, so this will mint 5,000 Acala USD from the Polkabtc I have deposit. So now I have some money. What can I do with it? We have the swap. So there's the DEX, which you can use the USD to buy other assets. So you'll be able to buy also question assets as well, including Polkabtc and DOTS and RMBTC and a few other assets in the future. So in this case, maybe I want to buy some DOTS, which is obviously a good idea. So I can spend 1,000 AUSD, which will buy this amount of DOTS. So once that's confirmed, when you have DOTS, if you're not going to use it immediately, it's probably a good idea to stake them, so you're earning the staking rewards, which is have a reasonably good return. So you can go to Polkadot network to do the staking, or another way is using a liquid staking protocol to do the staking, which is much more easier. So this is the Express UI. So you just enter the amount of DOTS you would like to stake and click the stake button, and that's all you need to do to stake the DOT. And our protocol, our decentralized protocol, will handles all the data selections, nominations, etc. But of course, you can also vote for your favorite validators if you want to with your LDOTs. So now I've changed all my DOTs to LDOTs, and then you'll be able to later vote for the validators if you want to. We're still working on the UI for this area. So this is the advanced screen. So you can see the history. You can, if you want to redeem, you can. So you can just wait for the whole unbounding period, which will be 7 days on Kusama, 28 days on Polkadot, and then just wait, which we won't charge you extra redeeming fee. But if you really need the money right now, up to the certain amounts, then you will be able to redeem them immediately. But we will be charging you some of the redeeming fee because you're skipping the unbounded period. But if you really need the DOTs right now, this will be handy. So now you have the LDOTs earning you the staking rewards, how could you increase the rates from the dots? So another way to do that is, for example, you can do is add liquidity to our DEX. So that is basically lock certain amount of AUSD and lock your assets, and then you'll be supplying liquidity to our DEX, and which will, when people make trades, you earn additional fees as rewards. We also have a liquidity incentive program, so you will also at the same time, in addition to the fees, you earn the additional AUSD as rewards as well. So this is adding the liquidity to the DEX, and then at a later stage, if you want to, you can also redeem the liquidity, redeem the token back later. Yes, so the next thing I want to show you just a quick, this is still, again, work in progress, and we're still finalizing all the details and finalizing the UI, but we have the governance feature. So it will be somewhat similar to Polkadot and Kusama, but will be slightly more complicated. We have the Home Zone Council, which will be the one managing for the stablecoin protocol, for the Homa Council. It's the one managing for the liquid staking protocol. So as the elder holders, you will be able to participate in the Homa Council by using your elder to vote for the as the ACA holder, Acala holder, you will be able to participate in the General Council and the Home Zone Council governance. So yes, those are still working progress, so it's still empty, but hopefully at a later stage we'll have much more things in our testnet to show. So now you have already having the dots making your profits while you sleep. What can you do with? What else can you do? So another thing you can do is as I've shown you, I generate a bunch of AUSD from my Polkabdc, and then next thing, if I want to be increase my profit by taking some more risks, I can transfer my Acala USD to the Lambda network. So let's just transfer to some account. So let's say I want to transfer 2,000 of it. So this will do a question transfer from Acala to the Lambda. So you can see the method is X token transfer to Parachains. So this will be transfer the money to the Lambda testnet. So this will be making a question transfer. This will take a slightly bit more time. So while this is transferring, I'm going to quickly show you on the Lambda side. So assuming the transfer already success and I already got some AUSD, and then I will be able to do a swap. So this will, the Lambda will allow you to do the trading with sensitive assets. So there will be, like for example, Forex assets, exchange, or like other things like gold and oil, etc. So let's say I want to buy some euro, maybe because, well, I'm going to travel to Europe sometime, so maybe I want to have some euro. So yeah, so I can swap some AUSD to the Lambda euro. I also can do some margin trading. So I can, for example, leverage trade Bitcoin, or leverage trade Ethereum, or just do some Forex trading. So I can deposit the money into the margin pool, and then I can just say I can choose up to 20 times leverage in this case. So to do a margin trading. Yeah, so let's open the position. I'll start getting the 20 times exposure on the USD JPY trading pair. So with the question transfer should already success. So let's check the events. So you can see, so we have the question token transferred here. So you can see this is sending a horizontal relay message. So from a Parachain to Parachain message relay through the relay chain, which is the Rococo, our own fork of the Rococo in this case. So on the Lambda side, you can see we have deposit event, should be this one. So 2,000 AUSD is deposited into this account. So this is basically this is basically the question AUSD transfer between Acala and the Lambda. Yep. So that's all of the demo I'm going to show you. So just last but not least, we are also working on the XCM fungible token implementation. So this will allow everything, including other Parachains, to more easily just composable with each other. So we have created the Open Runtime Module library and created some of the question token transfer asset, which is currently used by quite a few Parachains, including Plasm, Phala, and a few others. So to implement the question transfer, so I'm also creating some implementation guides and some implementation plans to in the future to further help everyone to implement the question asset transfer. So this will allow everyone to be able to compose with each other more easily just by integrating our library. Yep. So that's all I have for you today. So hand back to you, Dan. Dan, I think you're on mute.
All right, Dan, I can't hear you, but it seems like I'm on. Should I do my own introduction? Hey, welcome everybody. Given we're on a super tight timeline, I'm just gonna go ahead and get going. Yeah, my name's Lucas, and I'm gonna show you some stuff we've been building at Centrifuge. I'm gonna have a very short set of slides that I want to share with you. Yeah, so Centrifuge is bringing sort of real world assets to DeFi. So we allow businesses like real estate investors or like a business that wants to finance their revenue to come and use DeFi as a source of liquidity instead of going to a bank. So the most sort of the simplest way to describe it is we allow sort of all these different non-fungible real world assets to be put into different kinds of pools. So like say we have houses, our users can create a pool where then investors can invest. We pool that money, and then sort of different borrowers can borrow liquidity from that pool by depositing sort of a non-fungible token that represents an asset into that pool. A bit about the history of Centrifuge. We've started sort of building in this like DeFi ecosystem around almost 3 years ago, actually, before DeFi really was a thing. And sort of from the very beginning, we said, okay, how do we allow businesses that don't already, or users that don't already have crypto to sort of interact in this system? And so that's why we went with sort of this idea of bringing new assets to DeFi, allowing new liquidity, allowing diversity, different kinds of asset classes that you don't have today. And so we actually launched on Ethereum last year sort of a product that we call Tinlake, which allows you to invest in these different assets. And I'll just give you a quick overview of what this looks like. But we have what we call asset originators who who create these different pools. We have, for example, as I mentioned, real estate bridge loans. So this is a pool of 1.6 million DAI with about where I get a 5% interest rate if I invest in this pool. And I can see sort of there's 5 different loans ongoing at the moment. they're paying different interest rates, they have different maturity dates, different amounts, and I can see sort of all of this information is on chain. As actually, I'm a bit of a Tinlake Power user myself, and so on this wallet here that I'm using to demo, I have investments in these different tokens, and all of these are earning interest on these different kinds of real world assets, right? And so I get to use DeFi with assets that are completely uncorrelated, extremely stable, and give me this sort of all the advantages that DeFi have with the security, the stability that some of the safer asset classes have. Coming back to the slides and sort of talking about why we're talking about this at the Polka DeFi demo day. Well, sort of building all this, we knew from very early on that like Ethereum is not going to give us the scalability that we want, but we also knew, well, we need to integrate, we need to interface with all these other DeFi protocols, and Maker and Aave are projects we're actually working very closely with already. And so for that reason, when we think about Centrifuge, we've been for a while now thinking about, okay, well, we don't exist in isolation. We don't just exist on Ethereum. We really exist to allow what we call our asset originators to bridge these assets to wherever necessary, right? So, for example, as collateral into Acala, putting it into a compound or a Maker, and so sort of what is really important here, right, is this part here in the middle. Cross-chain messaging and bridging, and sort of to come back a bit about like where DeFi has come from and like why Ethereum has seen this this insane amount of activity is actually, I think it's one of the smartest things this ecosystem could have done is sort of standardize around this ERC20 token. We've created a standard that is extremely easy to use, and that actually allows you to combine arbitrary protocols, right? A lending protocol with a money market, with a decentralized exchange, with an aggregator, and then you can create wrap tokens and put them into liquidity pools and get more tokens. And all of that is like around this very basic standard. It's not perfect, but it works pretty damn well, I would say. So thinking about Polkadot, well, it's slightly more complicated, right? But in the essence, we still, I think, have the tools, and it's sort of in our best interest. And when I talk about us, I mean all of us who've been demoing here, everyone who's building on Polkadot, to sort of think about how do we build this interoperability into Polkadot as an ecosystem from the very start, right? So we don't have to have these thousands of different adapters. And so what Miguel will talk a bit about next is sort of we've started this. We started another testnet that we want to talk a bit and share about to help people that are building on Polkadot already from a very early point in time to start thinking about integrating. And I think it's great that Acala, for example, showed how they used Polka BTC as collateral to mint some of their stablecoin, right? So how do we build that? And so maybe I'll leave it to Miguel to introduce Cha-Cha-Cha and what we're doing with that.
Thank you. Let me share my screen now.
Yeah, how do I do that? Here.
All right. Oops, that's not the one. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep, awesome, thank you. Yeah, so following on Lucas's presentation, I think it's a good segue to introduce Cha-Cha-Cha. So Cha-Cha-Cha is a Rococo-based relay chain testnet. And when we were initially testing on our Centrifuge chain how to convert our chain to a Parachain using Cumulus, we realized that there might be some other usefulness of sharing this environment with many other projects. And so we did that. So Cha-Cha-Cha is a public testnet based on Rococo. So, and the whole purpose is to support the onboarding and the testing towards Rococo by just onboarding parachains earlier and figuring out any issues that they can come from their own runtime, or in addition to testable fully networked deployments, and importantly enough, the
interoperability with other parachains, like Lucas was mentioning. So yeah, so a little bit of the features that Cha-Cha-Cha has is that it is a clone of Rococo, so it will always be at par with Rococo codebase, meaning the trio of Cumulus, Substrate, Polkadot repos that we wanted to keep always at par with Rococo, so there's less surprises whenever your parachain is included in or about to be included in the Rococo testnet. The idea is to have frequent recycles, so we will include many parachains. We will maybe make changes on some of the runtime to allow certain test cases to be verified. But the idea is that we'll cycle fast, and it's available immediately. So you can just follow the following instructions. I will mention in a moment. But there's no waiting list. So as soon as you get in and you send the proposal and the registration form, then you will get in. So yeah, the whole point as well is to try to make emphasis more on this interoperability of parachains. So we try to set up the correct configuration for cross-chain messaging palettes and try to support as much as possible this any project to start moving messages, assets, tokens, non-fungible, fungible around as soon as possible. So if we look at briefly about the registration process, is basically the same as Rococo. I mean, you need to run a few validators, one collator. You have to fill up a form, which I can show you here. It's same, almost copy paste from Rococo. Just provide your element handle, your account address, so we can keep track of which account to send funds, your parachain ID. So before whenever we actually recycle the chain, then we can send funds towards your account without having to for you to go through that process again. Yeah, please go to the Cha-Cha-Cha channel in Element and try to just ask any questions you want for support. We will help you to get that going. And of course, everything right now is on the wiki, Polkadot wiki, as another source of documentation. So feel free to follow these steps. And we already onboarded a few parachains, and it was pretty painless. You can see, I can show you the UI at the moment that we have, where we have a few parachains onboarded, and then it's open for proposals. So yeah, feel free to follow these steps and to start testing the interchain communication. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. From Centrifuge, we're going to move over to Moonbeam now. So Alberto, I'm going to invite you on. So the Moonbeam team is based in Boston in the US, and they're working on an Ethereum compatible smart contract chain. And Alberto is going to walk through, I think, a brief intro of Moonbeam itself.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, so Alberto, go for it.
All right. Thanks a lot, and happy to be here. Let me share the screen. Hi, everyone. It's really exciting to be here and take part of this I think unique day, right? So hopefully you guys see my screen. I think you do. All right, so let's get to it. So yeah, my name is Alberto. I'm the developer relations manager at PureStake, which is the company building Moonbeam, the project that I'm going to talk to you about today. So it's basically a smart contract parachain with Ethereum compatibility. So the presentation will have a brief introduction of Moonbeam, and then we have a very special demo to show you guys. And later on today, I'll be joined by Joe, who is the CTO of Sushiswap, and Boring Crypto, which is the lead architect of the bento box at Sushiswap. So very excited to have them on board as well. So I guess the first question we have to ask ourselves is what is Moonbeam? And the most basic definition is that Moonbeam is an Ethereum compatible smart contract platform. Basically, at its core, it has an EVM, so this means that it provides compatibility for Solidity smart contracts, or actually anything that compiles to EVM bytecode. Then we have different layers of functionalities on top of the EVM. The first one being a Web3 RPC, as you can see here. So this means that we're compatible with all the Ethereum-based tools that you know and love already, such as MetaMask, Truffle, Remix, Hardhat. We have a bunch of documentation and you can use these tools on Moonbeam, our testnet, for example, Moonbase Alpha today. And also another great part of Moonbeam is that we have we have worked around we have modified the underlying account system of our Parachain to standardize it. We standardize the account and key format to that of Ethereum. This is really exciting because it means that when you interact with our EVM, you're going to use your Ethereum account and your Ethereum private key as you would do right now on Ethereum. But then when you move to other like substrate-based features or like Parachain standard features like governance or staking, which we just basically rolled out to our testnet a few weeks ago, you're going to do all of that as well with the same Ethereum account and private key, which is very exciting for us to share this with you. And on top of all, we have been building a great ecosystem of different integrations. A lot of them are DeFi oriented, but we have other great integrations as well. And we're truly excited about the ecosystem we're building. So why does a multi-chain strategy make sense? And for the sake of this presentation, I'm only going to talk about the topic in the middle. And this is basically that new projects can be first movers in new markets, right? And a lot of these projects can access through Moonbeam to assets that are not natively available on Ethereum, right? So they can connect through Moonbeam to either Polkadot and Kusama and access not only DOT or KSM, but a growing list of Parachain-based assets. And we think this is important because this provides just a new whole market that they can tap into. And how does Moonbeam plays out in this multi-chain world, right? So basically, let's say that you have your Solidity-based smart contracts, and you can either have them deployed to Ethereum, and then just let's say that you're using this very common tool called Truffle, or let's say Hardhat or whatever, and you have Truffle or Hardhat set up to deploy these contracts to Ethereum, right? And just by changing or adding the provider of Moonbase Alpha or testnet, for example, you can deploy those contracts exactly the same with minor modifications if needed, because sometimes you don't have to do any modifications to Moonbeam. And we have had a lot of feedback from projects saying that it's just unbelievably simple to do so. And this means that if you do so, your contracts will live in Moonbeam, but more importantly, you'll have access to the whole Polkadot ecosystem of other parachains. So which is just basically great to do so, right? And some of the projects that are working on Moonbeam include, for example, Sushiswap. Yesterday, we announced that Balancer is coming to Moonbeam, which is very exciting for us. We also have Ocean Protocol, Human Protocol, IDX, and a ton of other projects. So we're really excited about the ecosystem that we're building, and it's just truly amazing to see the progress that we've made over the past weeks. And I think the most exciting part for me today about this presentation is to show you guys the Balancer demo that we prepared. So basically, as you've heard me say before, Balancer is coming to Moonbeam, and we wrote a blog post about it. You can see it on this link on the slide. And what I'm going to show you today is a demo proof of concept. So basically, we really worked hard on providing, on bringing all the smart contracts from Balancer to Moonbeam, making sure to adapt their front ends. We had some help with parity in some cases, but it was truly amazing to see, bringing Balancer to Moonbeam. So we have a very proof of concept demo that will show the core functionalities, also including the smart order routing. Which is basically the tool that it's used to maximize or get you the best price possible when you're doing trades of tokens. If we have time, I'll show you the pool management UI, which is something related to you can create pools and do other stuff. And we're also looking for long-term support, meaning that we're looking for developers or teams that maintain Balancer on Moonbeam. This means that there are grants that are being issued both by Balancer and Moonbeam, and you can find more information in the link that it's basically on the slide. So yeah, for this demo, what I want to do now, it's basically to explain you a little bit of the pools that we've deployed to Moonbeam. So basically, we have deployed. We don't have the graph fully working right now on our testnet, although we're actually trying to bring this feature set to Moonbase Alpha soon. So we have we've actually deployed some amount of pools with some token allocations in the pools already, right? So let's just say, for example, pool 1. So in the case of pool 1, we have a 33% distribution weight, and we have actually said, for example, wrap ETH, we have deposited 100 wrap ETH, 200 token 1s, so these are ERC20 tokens, and 300 token 2s. In pool 2, what we've done is do a 25% distribution in weight, and we've actually done 100 wrap ETH, 200, 300, and 400, and on. And we have other pools. I'm not going to go through like the math or anything, but the idea is that we have pre-deployed a certain amount of pools with tokens allocated so we can trade with them, right? And don't go into the math here because you can probably arbitrage the crap out of these pools, but it's just for demo purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the demo that I prepared for you guys. So this is basically the Balancer front, one of the Balancer's front ends that you can see here. I have connected it to a Moonbeam node, and you can see that I have MetaMask being used as an injected provider here. And what I have here is an account that holds different amount of tokens, and I'm gonna, for example, show you guys what happens when I do a trade between wrap ETH and token 2. So if I just put here 2 tokens, you will see that I get the price information. And if I expand this menu right here, you can see that the smart order routing is optimizing my trade by using 2 Balancer pools. So this is really great to see here. If I, for example, choose to trade wrap ETH versus token 3, and I'm going to put here 5, you will see that once again the smart order routing that actually works off-chain is optimizing my trade with these 2 Balancer pools. But if I increase this right here, you will see that now the smart order routing is including another pool into the party, right? So it's great to see how this, this trade is being optimized to give you, the user, the best price possible. And now what I can do is go ahead and let's do this swap, right? So I have 500 wrap ETH and 300 token 3s, and I'm gonna go ahead and click swap. So as you would expect in Ethereum, MetaMask will pop up saying that you want to sign this transaction, and you can see that I have a gas price set to 0, and this is because this is testnet, and I can just click confirm, and the trade is being done. You can see here the spinning loading interface, and you can see now that I have 450 wrap ETH, and I have 150 more token 3s. And the cool thing is now the smart order router is actually telling me now that the pool, the trade, if you do this trade again, the pool allocation will be different to maximize and optimize this trade. So I think this is really cool and really amazing to show you guys Balancer working on Moonbeam. Another UI that I prepared for you guys is this pool management UI. So right now, like I mentioned, we don't have the graph working on Moonbase Alpha, but hopefully in the next weeks we'll have an instance of Balancer subgraphs working, because this information is fed by the Balancer subgraph. So I mean, this information that you see right here is currently on Ethereum mainnet, but other functionalities of this web UI actually works. You can wrap some, for example, ETH. I have 450. So before I do this, let me reload this page. So you can see that I have 450 wrap ETH. I'm gonna deposit 50 ETH, for example. And once this trade is confirmed and this page will reload the balance, you should see that I'll have 500 wrap ETH down here. Hopefully it reloads in time. If not, I'll just reload this web page. There you go. I have 500 wrap ETH now. I can also create a pool. To create a pool, I first have to set up a proxy if you're familiar with Balancer. So I'll just go ahead and set up my proxy contract. And so once the proxy contract is set up, so the proxy contract is how you interact with the Balancer pools. So I can click next and just add the amount of tokens that I want to add to my pool, right? So I can add, for example, let's put 50% in wrap ETH, and I'll put 100 in amount, 25% token 1. I'm not really sure about the amounts I should set, but this is just for demo purposes, right? Oops. And then basically, if I approve the proxy as an expender in this ERC20 tokens, I'll just set up a swap fee, for example, and I can just click this warning message and just create. I cannot do it right now because I have to, approve the proxy as an expender. But for the purpose of the demo, we wanted to show you guys this proof of concept. And like I mentioned before, we're looking for teams to actually take this long term and support this deployment of Balancer in Moonbase Alpha long term. And there are grants being issued by both Balancer and Moonbeam, right? So yeah, I mean, that's it for my presentation. Thanks a lot. I hope you liked the demo. And now I'll be joined by the Sushiswap team. So we have Joe, the CTO, and Warren Crypto, the lead architect of Bento Box, that they're going to present their demo that is running on Moonbase Alpha. Thanks a lot, guys.
What's going on? How y'all doing?
All right. Hi, Joe.
Hey. I'm actually gonna change up my video real fast.
All right.
Doesn't seem to be responding. Okay. Oh, that's not the right button either. Okay, whatever. Let's roll. My video is back off. Okay, there. Cool. Yeah. No. All right. Sweet.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys, take it away.
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen here and show you kind of like, first of all, we deployed to Moonbeam's testnet Moonbase, and we're from the standpoint that Moonbeam came to us. It was at a time. Hey, do you mind going on? Thank you. Cool. It came to us at a time when sushi was, kind of like in a downturn. Nobody wanted to work with us, and Moonbeam was a team that reached out to make a sushi deployment on Moonbeam. So, like, Moonbeam is kind of a project that's close to us. We have already deployed to Moonbase, and we're going to do a swap, an add, and then a remove. Just like anything else, we're going to swap. We're confirm and there's always like that kind of like that time in between from when you get swapped to time clearing. Right, there we go. Swapped. Yeah. It's choppy. Okay.
I did have some issues with my audio as well, so I don't know if we broke Crowdcast like we did on the encoded presentation or what's going on, but
let me see. On temporarily. Okay. Yeah. Is my audio working now?
It's still a little choppy. Maybe if you turn
maybe I
your
turn
video
my
off.
video off.
Yeah.
Is it better?
I think that's better.
Okay, cool. Just let me know if it like interrupt me if it starts becoming a problem.
Yeah,
Video
it's much better
frozen.
now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it must be like my downlink or whatever. Yeah. What did we miss? Did we miss the swap?
The whole demo
We can
worked.
do it. Oh, the whole demo worked. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So all right. So
You just
now
can't
we're
see your screen anymore.
Yeah. Oh, you can't see your screen. Okay. Cool. This is. I swear I tested this before I started. That's just boring. Okay. Not really any controls here for the screen sharing anymore.
If you hover over your.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, cool. Can we see the screens now?
There you go. Yep.
Right. We were able to see the swap or no?
Yep, we see it.
Test. Okay. Now we're going to do an ad. We'll do a max here. And we'll supply that. We're adding these two token pairs into a liquidity pool, and this is part of the AMM design, right? An AMM design is basically a forced buyer seller to provide liquidity for the market, hence liquidity provider or LP tokens, right? So we're minting LP tokens by being both sides of the trade. Oh, dang, this stinks. All right, cool. So anyway, so there we go. It's confirmed. We have added the liquidity. It's now in the pool, and we'll do a remove. Let's do a remove. We got to do an approve. Ah, very nice. We implemented approves. Yeah. Okay. Cool. There we go. And wait for that to go through, and then we're done. Yeah. I was told that there would be a bit of lag on the testnet today. And I think that is really good feedback because it definitely is. There we go. Mined. Great. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the demo. We're able to swap, add, remove liquidity. We're already deployed on Moonbeam. So create your test tokens and like integrate in the way that you think that you'll integrate when we go to mainnet, because we're going to mainnet as well. And we have like a pretty good, I think, plan for the mainnet launch. Can't wait for you guys to see it. All right.
Cool. Let me figure this out. Oh, wait. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to talk about the bento box today that we deployed on Moonbeam. Deployment was very easy. just with hardhead, like any EVM compatible chain. We had no problems with that, which is very nice. So the bento box is basically, it's kind of like a token vault. You can just load your tokens into it. So here you can see I have some token balances, and I also have some tokens in the bento box. And this kind of shows whether I have approved this or not. So here you can, if you open this up, you can see this hasn't been approved yet. So if I want, I can approve this all. And after that, I can move tokens. I've already put some sushi tokens in here. So they're sitting in my bento box now. And so the bento box is a token vault that many people can build protocols on top of. So Kashi, the lending platform, will be one of the first things that we will deploy on it. But for the demo today, I've got a sort of a simpler example of a salary/vesting feed that you can create. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's say in the next 30 minutes, we're going to fest some sushi. We're going to fest 1,000 sushi, and we're going to create this. Okay, I guess we're not going to create it. Anyway, I already created some salaries here that you can see. Maybe I just refresh the page. There we go. That's why. All right, do that again. So that should create a new salary, and it's using the funds from the bento box. So it will use the funds from here. And so obviously, why would you use another wallet or token vault? And the reason is yield. So the whole point of DeFi, we all want better yield. And so what the bento box does is any tokens that are sitting in there that are idle can create yield in the background. So if we have a look here, we will see that there's actually a strategy attached to this this token. So 88% of these tokens are automatically invested into a strategy that creates yield. In this case, it's using the sushi bar. And to show this, for demo purposes, I have created, so this is the bar, there is some stuff sitting in there, and what we can do is we can just donate some money into that. So normally this would be through actual profit from the system, but that part is not running now. I'll just wait till that comes in. And here we see our salary has been created. And so what you can see here, this is now 1,000 sushi that I've just locked up. That's gonna be festing in the next 30 minutes. So normally that would just be dead tokens that are not working. Same as in the bento box here, I have 98,000 sitting there. It's not doing anything. But now you can see if I actually harvest the strategy, then the benefits from the strategy will be applied to any protocol, any tokens that have a strategy, and any protocol built on top of that will benefit from that. Just wait till that goes through. And here we can see we've got now more sushi that is sitting there fasting, and our balance here has gone up as well. So even while your tokens are doing something, let's say they're sitting in an AMM, they're sitting in a lending platform, if it's built on top of the bento box, you're getting extra yields, both through flash loans and through strategies. And this is all running live on the Moonbeam testnet right now. Cool. Well, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thanks, Alberto, Joseph, Boring. Someday I'll learn your name. I'll take you guys off the screen, and then we can move over to Hong, who's coming on. So Hong is going to be joining us from Phala. Phala is building a privacy-focused parachain. So Hong is going to be doing a demo for us on their solution here in a second. And then those of you who are asking the rest of the agenda, we've got Plasm coming up. So Sota and Youngsuk are going to be presenting for Plasm, and then we're going to end up the day with a couple panels with Cami Russo. So here's Hong. Go ahead and take it away for us. Good to see you.
Hello everyone. Yeah, I think that I should share my screen. All right, so it looks like it's already working. All right, so today I'm going to introduce, talk a little bit about Phala network, and especially focusing on the cross-chain parts. So before the presentation, I think I would like to play a video about our short demo. Yeah, so actually this is a demo on Rococo, and it's a demo to send Acala through XCM to Phala network. And the Phala network has a very special product called Secret Wallet. Yeah, and as you can see, now we are sending some Acala to Phala. And this is the And unlike the regular wallet, the secret wallet, all the transactions is invisible on the blockchain because we encrypted everything, the transaction, input, output, and the intermediate states. Yeah, and finally, we can transfer the token back to Acala. Okay, so that is the demo.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another mining chamber video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to effectively use your main PC.
Sorry, it's auto playing. All right, so that is the demo, and actually we call the project as a confidentiality layer for Polkadot ecosystem. And unlike other blockchains, we serve as an infrastructure in the Parachain ecosystem instead of being a standalone platform to run something. We intend to serve other blockchains. So I just also introduce myself a little bit. I'm Hong, and I'm from Phala Network. I'm the co-founder and lead developer. So why we call it confidentiality layer? So if you're familiar with the smart contract and blockchain, you know that everything on blockchain is actually transparent, because this is how blockchain work. We need consensus, we need replica of the data over the network to make sure the data can be trusted and verified. And this creates a problem because everything on the blockchain is transparent. So if you want to store something secret and you want to store some user privacy data, it will become a problem for us. So instead of running the smart contract right on the blockchain, we use a technology called trusted execution environment. So it's an isolated area in the CPU. So actually, it's also called hardware secure enclave because it's a combination of hardware and software. So we can deploy some program in the TEE, in the enclave. So because it's isolated from the other parts in the system, so even if you have the control over the operating system, or you even have the physical access to the computer, you still cannot manipulate the data inside. You cannot access the data inside the enclave. And of course, the RAM is also encrypted, so it's end-to-end encrypted. So what about we run the smart contract in the enclave? So for example, if we put a token contract into the secure enclave, it turns into a privacy token. So you can send some token to others, but you cannot, besides the sender and the receiver, nobody else can see the amount, the sender and the receiver of the transaction. Of course, we can also like put some NFT inside the secure enclave, so we can make like loot box. And if we put the Uniswap contract inside the enclave, we can make it a dark pool. And also like we can also use the secure enclave to protect the position for some derivatives like some lending protocol or option protocol. So how do we make it happen? So what we have is something called confidential contract. It's very similar to a regular smart contract. As you can see here, we have a very simple demo. This is a hello world contract. It only have a counter. And we have commands, which is just like transactions. You send transaction to the blockchain to invoke the command. And in this sample, it supports increment the counter by some amount. So far, it's very similar to regular contract. But what is different is that the intermediate state, the input, the output is all encrypted. So in order to query the contract, you cannot just pull the data from the blockchain because it's encrypted. So instead of that, what we should do is to define the query. A query is very similar to when you are building a backend and you accept some requests from the clients, right? So inside the query, you can actually check the credential of the requesters. For example, in this sample, the first line of the contract, we check if the sender is the root account. So if it's not a root account, we can return an error, not authorized. And if you are a root account, then we can reply with the actual account, read from the contract. So in this way, actually, we protect the privacy, and we make it very flexible for the developers to define which data can be accessed outside the smart contract and which data is protected inside the confidential smart contract. Of course, one thing to mention is that now this is showing our native Rust contract, and in the future, we are going to switch to Ink smart contract very soon. So that is one part, is the smart contract. But how do we provide the confidentiality to other projects? So the way is by using XCMP. So like is showing in this diagram, on Phala network, we can have multiple secure enclaves running the smart contract. And they are heterogeneous, actually. So we don't deploy all the contracts on all the secure enclaves, but instead we can deploy like if we have 100 secure enclave. So in theory, we can run 100 smart contract at the same time, and in this way we can have a very high throughput. But it also creates a problem. That is how this smart contract can communicate with each other. So the answer is using XCMP. So from the beginning, we have this. We have the compatibility with XCMP in our mind when we started the project. So all the way to interact with the smart contract is through XCMP. So of course, we can let other smart contract on other blockchains to invoke the confidential smart contract on Phala network. So like here is the first. Here is a deep dive of the demo we just showed in this in this presentation, which is secret assets. We also call it secret wallet. So in secret wallet, so any parachain can send their token to our blockchain, and we will save the balance inside the secure enclave. So in this way, all the as long as you convert some token from other blockchains to our secret wallet, and then you cannot all the transferring, all the transactions is invisible from the blockchain. And under the hood, so here we are showing what happened under the hood. So like in the demo, we showed that we can send some Acala token to Phala network secret wallet. So the first thing is to invoke the transfer function on the Acala side. And here we show that this is actually an XCM. An XCM sent to Parachains 13, which is Phala network. So actually XCM has two parts. One part, the first part is the message itself. It defines how the message will so what the message is describing, and the second part is the effects. It describes what we'll do when we receive this message. So when we transfer some token from Acala, the message we created is called withdraw asset, because you will first withdraw some token from your own account and deposit it into the reserved account, which is controlled by Phala network. And then after the deposit is already there, we can also trigger more effects happening on the other blockchains. So when the transfer is done on the Acala side, there will be a HRMP message from Acala to Rococo, and and through XCM executor on the Rococo side, it will redirect the message from Rococo to Phala network. So this part, an upward message and a downward message combined together is called is the regular HRMP. But unlike other blockchains, we don't want to build everything on our blockchain, but instead we want to serve the other blockchains by using our confidential smart contract. So the endpoint is actually not the not Phala network, the blockchain, but the confidential smart contract. So on Phala network, what we have is not the endpoint, but an XCM router. The router will redirect the message received from other parachains and dispatch it to the actual secure enclave who ran the secret wallet. So we call this an ingress message. And the actual endpoint is contract assets, and this is not the assets palette on substrate side. This is the confidential version inside the TE enclave. Yeah. So what we received is a message called deposit asset, and the XCM come from Parachain 666. which is Acala, and the destination is an account in the Phala network space. So actually, when you send some token from one parachain to another parachain, you can specify. You can send the token from your own account to also your own account, but on another blockchain. But you can also specify some other accounts for sure. And we call this off-chain HRMP.
Just to let you know, we've only got about a minute or two for this section.
Okay, I will be very quick. So yeah, this is we call this off-chain HRMP, and of course in the reverse direction, we can also send an egress message to withdraw some token from our side and pass it directly to the Acala side to send the token back. Yeah, so we are going to launch the secret network on Rococo V1 in mid-March, and that is a simple use case. We can also combine the different utilities and different parachains together. For example, like if there is a zero knowledge parachain to protect the token privacy, we can combine them together with us, and we can run a decentralized exchange on the Phala network side, because the DEX is more complicated than token, and it's very hard to use zero knowledge proof to protect it. Yeah, so that's all from my side. Yeah, so we are going to launch a series of products in the near future, and if you are interested, feel free to reach out to us on Telegram. You can also check our open source code on GitHub. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. So the last Parachain team to join us is going to be Plasm. So we've got Sota coming on in a second, and then Hyung Suk as well. So they'll run through a demo, and then we've got, like I said, the two panels coming up after that. So Sota and Hyung Suk, you should have some invites on your screen.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. Good to see you.
You too.
So yeah, Hyun Suk is here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My computer doesn't have a camera right now. I'm just using for my web.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. in Korea, so yeah.
That's also the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it started. So I'm going to talk about Plasm Network within 10 minutes. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen right now?
Yep, we got it.
Cool. Yeah, let's get it started. So I'm going to talk about Plasm Network and what we are doing right now. So our mission is to make DAO. So Plasm Network is community-driven multi-chain smart contract platform on Polkadot. So why Plasm Network? Plasm Network is a multi-virtual machine DAX hub on Polkadot that support Ethereum and the layer 2 solution. So what do you mean by multi-virtual machine? So we support both Ethereum virtual machine and WebAssembly. So you can deploy Solidity contract, Piper contract on the top of Ethereum virtual machine today by using Remix, MetaMask, Truffle, ECDSS signature, yeah, whatever. And you can deploy Ink contract on the top of our WebAssembly. And we are also implementing ZK rollup. So why scaling solution for Polkadot? Polkadot is also a scaling solution. So this is a really good question. I think many Ethereum projects will use a lot of rollup solution, and then it's gonna be easy for them to migrate from Ethereum to Polkadot space without compromising rollup solution, because we have rollups on the top of Plasm Network. So Plasm Networks make it easy to create, launch, and use dApps. And actually, we have been working on ZK rollup, and the 50% is done, and it's under the review by Web3 Foundation right now. So far, we have been building on Polkadot since 2019, and one of our huge milestone in 2021 is to become Kusama Parachain as well as Polkadot Parachain. And we have been working on multi-virtual machine, Ethereum virtual machine, and WebAssembly, both on layer 1 and layer 2. So you can deploy any sort of contract on the top of layer 1 as well as layer 2. So if you are interested in cheaper gas or faster finality or flexible dApps development, so you can deploy dApps on the top of layer 2. But also you can deploy dApps on the top of layer 1. And also the huge difference between Plasm Network and the other project is dApps staking. I'm going to talk about dApps staking later. And this is our technical achievement. We became the Polkadot Parachain, and we deployed a smart contract on the top of our testnet Parachain. And I think tomorrow or the after tomorrow, we are going to support Ethereum virtual machine on the top of Polkadot testnet Parachain. So you can deploy Solidity contract or Viper contract on the top of Polkadot testnet Parachain instead of independent chain or isolated chain. So this is gonna be really huge, update for us. Yeah, and also we are making bridges like Ethereum bridges and Secret Network bridge and Binance Smart Chain bridge. So Hyunsuk will be talking about Secret Network bridge later. Yeah, and last week we have done XCMP transaction between Acala and Plasm. So interoperability was buzzword, but it became reality. So we are going to work with Interlay and other projects to make cross-chain messaging passing happen. Yeah, and also I'm going to talk about our new portal. So this is the UI, and anyone can create dApps through this Plasm Network portal. All you have to do is you have to specify account and fill out your website and fill out your name and the category. It can be DeFi, it can be Parachain, it can be Oracle, it can be gaming. And also the last thing is to upload WebAssembly contract or Solidity contract here. And then, sorry, it's not interactive, but we are going to launch it in weeks. Then let's say Chainlink deploy Oracle on the top of Plasm Network, their logo will be shown here. And the PLM token holder can stake their token not only on network, like staking, but also on dApps. So let's say Uniswap joined the Plasm Network. So PLM token holder can stake their token on Uniswap. By doing so, you are supporting Uniswap, and the Uniswap developer can PLM token. This means by making dApps on the top of Plasm Network, you can get PLM token, and it will be tradable when we list our token at exchanges. So this is gonna be simple, but there is strong incentive for developer. And I think we got a question regarding lock drop, and we are also making the interface. So you can join our lock drop during the Parachain auction through Plasm Network portal. So you can specify dot amount, then you can get PLM token if you deposit dots for us to become a Parachain. Cool, and the Hyunsuk will be talking about bridges. And we are working on Secret Network bridge, Ethereum bridge, and Binance Smart Chain bridge. We got fund from Binance and the OKX, so we have an incentive to make a bridges. Yeah, and the ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And a lot of team joined our Plasm Network project, and we are going to launch grants program very soon. So it will be great if you could deploy dApps on the top of Plasm Network. And I will leave it to Hyunsuk.
All right, thank you, Soda, for passing. Let's just go through the in-depth of the bridge contract that we're trying to make right now. So here's the bridge contract between the secret. So this is basically, I cannot go through the whole code, but this is basically about this like a multi-sig bridge where when it executes the transaction, then it just sends the multi-sig bridge detects the TX ID and then signs those like transaction and sends to a secret. So you can add those like owners and then fee collectors for this bridge transfer. And you can also add those tokens. Let me show you some workthroughs. So let's just say that it's just a POC though, but let's just say you want to deploy a token and then probably compile it in a testnet, like here below. Like let's just say the initial supply is like 1 million or something, and then go with the test and then test. This one should be 18. So once you deploy it, you have the tactic token pending. Once it's deployed, you get the token address from your dApps. It could be your governance token, or it could be some other ERC20 like PEG tokens or whatever. Then you just add the token to the bridge. Like the minimum amount is like the minimum amount to stake. So transact. And once those tokens are on the bridge, it will be available to move around this UI in a bridge like this. So basically, we're trying to include our own Plasm and ERC20 tokens, such as like from the dApps, or it could be other wrapped Polkadot asset tokens, such as Acala, Phala, or other wrap tokens. We're trying to put that between the secret. And then Secret will send those like tokens from IBC, such as like Terra. It could be other like Secret or Secret Tether, and it will move around with the Secret built Secret bits built with the multi-sig operators, such as from like bHarvest and the other multi-sig operator as well. So this is basically how our multi-sig bridge will work. I hope you guys build the dApp and then let your assets to move around in heterogeneous blockchains such as Cosmos, Polkadot, and also Binance Chain. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for having us. Done.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Just inviting the next people up. So got to pull Ashley back up and get us started. Hey.
I've been really enjoying the community. So thank you all for bringing your enthusiasm and your friendliness and all of your good jokes. It's good to see Polkadot have a thriving Degen community. So that's super fun. I'm really excited to introduce Cami Russo. If you don't know her, which I think everyone should, but Defiant is probably one of the most amazing newsletters to get kind of all the great alpha leaks. Cami does an amazing job of covering the space, what's happening, breaking things down. Highly recommend that you subscribe to the Defiant if you haven't. So she's going to do two discussions, one panel, or two panels rather. The first panel is going to be with Snowfork, Acala, and Centrifuge. And then the second one will be with Moonbeam, Phala, Interlay, and Plasm. So Cami, we're super excited to have you join us. Thank you so much. It's nice that Polkadot finally has a thriving DeFi community for you to dive into. So looking forward to your questions and what you might uncover with these teams. So we'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. This has been so interesting to see all the demos and all the incredible development happening in the space. So yeah, I think if we can get Aidan, Rita, and I think Lucas from Centrifuge
coming in.
We start the panel. Yeah, but
Cinnamon, take me off.
Yeah, like the Defiant has been, focusing on DeFi since 2019, and it's been mostly Ethereum so far. But the Defiant is all about covering decentralized finance wherever that may be. So if it's thriving on Polkadot, I think we'll probably see more and more Polkadot-based DeFi coverage on the Defiant as well. Okay, so it looks like we have our panelists on board. Great. So there's Rita from Acala, Lucas from Centrifuge, and Aidan from Snowfork. Welcome, and excited to chat about DeFi with you guys, about what you're seeing on the future of Polkadot's DeFi ecosystem. But first, as I was looking or listening to your very impressive demos, I always had the question of like, when? So can you kind of just clarify exactly what people can do with your apps right now? I know there's like alpha, betas, and like different Greek letters, but like, are people like, can people go and test? Yeah, if you can go through the different kind of phases of development that your different applications and projects are at. So Rita, can you start?
Oh yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So for Acala, we pretty much already have the testnet running for the past 5 months. So everything that we demo can be accessible today. But the key question about when will we go live on Kusama or when we go live on Polkadot? Well, it all depends on the actual Parachain functionality. And from the experience we're working with the substrate team, with Parity, I think it will be ready whenever it's ready. So we are all hopeful that it's going to be released soon, but we also hope for that for the release it's going to be safe and smooth. So I think it's getting close. I don't have a definitive date, but I think it will be ready when it's ready.
Right. Okay. I guess like this all depends on when like Polkadot and the Parachains launch itself. So, but you're saying that when that happens, then Acala will be ready to go, basically.
Yeah, and I think there will be notice, there will be announcement from either Acala or from officially from Polkadot or from Parity to let the world know that now the Parachain auction is coming, because there's the unbounding periods that we were the people have to unbound their token to support Parachains. So I don't think there need to be the rush or there should be like a date that we need to set, but when it's coming, we all will be notified accordingly.
Okay. When do you expect to have this like Parachain auction happen? I know you said like there's no specific date, but is this like a matter of, do you guys know, a matter of like weeks or months, or anyone have like an idea?
I think we can all guess. I think Adrian and Lucas, we can all guess. But I think we're getting close on Kusama. I mean, that's the best I can say for now.
Okay, cool. All right, Centrifuge, how
we
about
need to
you?
start a
Like,
prediction market on that.
oh yeah. Will Centrifuge be ready when it's ready?
I mean, in a way, we already are ready. I alluded it in the demo, but like we have been building on Ethereum to like 3 years ago. Made the decision actually to work on Substrate, build out way before Polkadot went live. I think it was March of last year that we went live with our mainnet, and so our mainnet today is actually an almost identical copy of Polkadot. So same consensus mechanism. No relay chains, of course, so we're just an independent proof of stake chain, but so we have that, and sort of like for us, like the pieces, there's a small part of our infrastructure that is running on that chain. It's how the different loans are originated, and then investors sort of use Tinlake on Ethereum, because that's where the liquidity is, that's where all of the DeFi ecosystem is today. So we sort of have this hybrid approach today of our own chain and Ethereum. We have our own bridge for that, and as Parachains become available, when they become available, that is something that, of course, we're very excited to to start using, but it doesn't really hinder us from using sort of our tech already. We have, I think, now 4.6 million DAI in like loans outstanding from different borrowers, and like have a ton of users growing every day on Ethereum.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I know Centrifuge is live, but I meant, will it be ready to go on Polkadot as soon as it's
Yeah, so we're on the latest version of Substrate in our testnet. We have Our mainnet's slightly behind, but this is something we're working on. Cha-cha-cha is what we're using to test a lot of the integration. But yeah, I guess as parachain auctions will go live, we'll be able to take basically our runtime that we have today that's tested and running in production and sort of deploy that.
Cool. All right. And Aiden, how about for you?
Yeah, so we're pretty much in a similar position to the others. We are expecting to be pretty much ready to launch at the same time that Parachains launch. And so we're kind of waiting on parity for that. There are a few differences. Our Parachain does require some new functionality that doesn't really exist on Polkadot's testnet yet. And so we're kind of using a custom branch. We do expect that functionality to be merged into the main Rococo testnet and eventually Polkadot at the same time as Parachains. And so when everyone eventually converges to production, we'll be there at the start. But we are kind of blocked on that. And so we have an internal testnet. We're planning to launch a public-facing demo in the next few weeks. But in terms of production assets and real-world assets from Ethereum, there it'll only happen whenever parity is ready with Parachains.
Okay, cool. And so you all expect to have your own parachains on Polkadot. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so my question on parachains is especially for DeFi, because interoperability has proven to be so key on Ethereum DeFi, this concept of money Legos. Does it work in exactly the same way with dApps built on different parachains? Is interoperability as seamless as applications being built on the same exact layer 1?
I would say that there's no fundamental barriers to preventing that seamlessness. So one minor difference is that when if someone's using a dApp on one parachain that is interacting with a dApp on another chain, that interaction happens asynchronously. And so instead of there being a single atomic transaction like you would have on Ethereum, there may be 2 transactions. But that's more kind of a technical thing. If you look at the user experience of, say, using Ethereum, you're waiting for a minute or longer for confirmation times and for things to happen anyway. And so when multiple parachains are interacting with each other, the amount of time that it takes for these multi-atomic transactions to happen will likely still be faster than if you were to just wait for a single Ethereum transaction. And so I don't really see there being UX compromises. It's more kind of on the technical side and the way that developers have to think about things that change.
I think that I always use this analogy, and you brought up async, right? I always use this analogy when you built a website 20 years ago, you created your one PHP file and it pulled everything together and served you then this website, and you would load one request from the server and you get all you need. And that's sort of like Ethereum today, right? You submit your transaction, everything happens atomically, and it's great, it's easy, but it doesn't scale. And for the same reasons, when you go to a website today, actually, there's probably 30 different things that happen in the background, which are all also asynchronous transactions. But in the end, you end up with that same website being rendered, right? And there's a bit of composition. And so DeFi will look from an engineering perspective, radically different under the hood. But yeah, I think I agree on the usability that can be very similar. And even on Ethereum, right? You see the L2 space will have exactly the same issues. And so I think we're it's going to be, it's just not going to be a reality anymore that most of these things will happen synchronously. You'll jump from L1 to L2 and from one chain to another, and protocols and users will learn how to use it, how to implement that stuff.
Yeah, Rita, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy by Lucas. It's it feel like the current Ethereum.EVM implementation is like a mainframe computer, and we are moving slowly towards the server age, which each specialized network is on its own server, and we can see this is different approach to solve the same problem on Ethereum, this layer 2, on Polkadot, this Parachain. And I think that's exactly why this technical working group formed. It's a community-driven tech group of we need to find at least the token can be circulating freely between all the different projects. So we have an interface to can talk with each other. So I think that is like the very beginning of the composability that we can already see. I do believe in further development down into the Polka development, we can see richer composability. For example, Parachain might decide to expose some of its core functionality through the XCM. That means, for example, a Parachain might decide to expose their DAX, or in Centrifuge cases, might expose their characterization or their financial assets through XCM handler. So that can also be composable as well. But for now, I think the bare minimum is that the token is already circulating, and that's great.
Okay, so different tokens issued on different parachains can like easily circulate on other parachains, even though they may have different parameters and be built on different ways. They can still kind of like interconnect with different applications there.
Yeah, and I think on Parachain, it's more of like a diplomatic relationship between different Parachain because they are sovereign network. It's just a very easy to build up relationship and have this value transfer in a trustless way. And I think now in the past, there's like the SPRE, the SPRE environment. So Parachain can actually talk to other Parachain without going through the relation. And that's where I think the most scalable inter-Parachain communication is going to happen.
Okay, so something like Yearn, which is basically like a yield bouncer between like dozens of different Ethereum DeFi apps, and it just like it needs to connect and plug into all these different apps. That would still be possible on Polkadot DeFi.
I think so, and I wouldn't discount the possibility that it's going to be like an aggregator Parachain that's going to harvest all the different reward from different Parachain. For example, Centrifuge has a money market. There's financial instrument that can be harvested with the Snowfork bridge. There could be like Ethereum yield that can be harvested. So there might be down in the path of development.
Cool. Lucas, I'm wondering about teams building like you on Polkadot and other chains like Ethereum. Is there a concern about fragmenting liquidity? Like, does it make sense to build on different chains, or do you think teams would consolidate on one chain in the long run?
It's a really good question. I think the one like obviously fragmenting liquidity is bad. We want to avoid that. It also though is very easy to move liquidity around, and actually like you just mentioned Yearn, right? Like that's all they're doing, and you can do that very easily. For us, like sort of how we think about our ecosystem is we have two fundamentally different kinds of users. We have the asset originators that bring these real world assets on chain. They use our parachain to create these assets. Investors then that want to invest and earn interest on these assets, they don't necessarily need to be on Centrifuge chain. They can do, they might be a maker on Ethereum, they might be on Acala, like it might be collateral somewhere, who knows, right? And so for us, sort of how we think about fragmentation and interoperability is like we want these investors to be wherever necessary, and we make it as easily to move these tokens. On the asset originator side, that's like sort of where the heavy usage and like a lot of the very specific interaction that we need happens, right? It's not just a simple ERC20 token transfer, fungible token transfer. And so that's sort of how we split it up and how we think about like avoiding this like fragmentation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say to add to that, the problem of fragmentation of liquidity is not really a cross-chain problem. Like even if you look at Ethereum, there's multiple protocols and DeFi applications where liquidity has already become fragmented. And so whether that fragmentation happens across chains or across protocols or across people and communities, it's kind of a more general conversation around how do we join and separate liquidity. Whether on the technical level that happens on different chains or different protocols, I think is more of like a kind of technical implementation detail rather than financial or product consideration.
Sure. What are some of the incentives that you think will be used in Polkadot DeFi to bring over liquidity from Ethereum? And I don't know, like Snowfork as the bridge is obviously key in making this happen and in getting liquidity from kind of the biggest DeFi ecosystem right now. Are you thinking of having incentives for people to port their tokens over, or same for Acala and Centrifuge?
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to have incentives that make it easy for people to port their tokens over, but we're not currently planning to have additional incentives to specifically entice people to bring their tokens over. I think that will come more from the being enticed by other parachains and other kind of protocols. For example, if there's yield on Acala or yield on Centrifuge, our links to Acala and Centrifuge and other chains will be pathways from Ethereum into them. And so essentially, we're kind of counting on them to entice people to deliver demand into the Polkadot ecosystem.
Right.
Yeah, I can echo that. So, I mean, we will definitely have some form of incentive when we launch the network, and we will also able to direct the incentive to where it's most needed. For example, if we think more Ethereum assets need to be crossed, and that's the beauty of like this composable network, right? So we can say that, hey, we can provide incentive on making new Snow ETH, or we can provide new incentive on creating a long position using ETH. So it all depends on where the demands is we think is going to hit. So, well, this is like the beautiful of like have one consumer-focused application that has a bridge that we can work together and make this as frictionless and as useful for the trade as possible.
So yield farming on Acala?
Well, I wouldn't call that. Yeah, it will be similar, but there will be actual more meaningful product out of Acala. I think there's like after yield farming, I think the staking derivative game is going to have a very heavy play. The actual DOT has yield built in, so we have some very interesting product that we might be able to introduce once we go live, or revolving around the actual staking rewards. So for early traders tap into the system, not only there will be earnings, for example, incentive on the network token, they might also tap into the rewarding part of the actual POS network, like DOT rewards, Kusama reward. And if you put those into play, that is actually very, very interesting.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. And Lucas, how about for you? Like, how do you think you'll incentivize people to use Centrifuge on Polkadot?
I mean, right now it costs around $100 or more for one of our asset originators to originate a loan. I think that's already a pretty strong incentive to not use Ethereum. I mean, in the end, like the yield farming, you have to watch out that it doesn't become a bit of a race to the bottom. It's, I think, a very interesting way to start a community, and it can be a way that, like, as a community, you decide where you want to direct attention, and that I think is super valuable. But ultimately, like, I believe the usability that Polkadot can offer and the transaction costs are going to be what will drive a lot of it. Another thing, right, is just Polkadot itself, the activity, the market cap, like like just the amounts of liquidity in this whole ecosystem are now already so big that I think this can be like a very viable like early pool of liquidity and users. I mean, it's the top 5, no, top 10. How many? Where are they right now? So it's and that is like, that can start, right? And I think sort of if you start with that, then liquidity will find its way, right? Like if we see something about DeFi, it's like there's hardly any free lunch left on anything free left on the table. So you'll see like money flowing where there's like cheap transactions, scalability, liquidity, and so I would focus on that as opposed to too much of like subsidizing it.
Oh yeah, we're seeing it on. We're seeing it with like Binance Chain, Binance Smart Chain. People going there, even though it's not necessarily kind of the most decentralized, etc. But of course, like money talks, smart, cheap transactions matter. So okay, so looking forward and seeing where DeFi on Polkadot is heading, where do you see this ecosystem being at the end of the year? Like how big do you think it will be? How many applications? Do you think it will be comparable to what is happening on Ethereum today? I mean, do you see something like TVL on Polkadot overtaking Ethereum's TVL by the end of the year?
I don't think it would be grow at that scale, but I do think there's something that unique will be created in the Polkadot ecosystem, with one parachain connectable, composable with other parachain. I think we're able to see something that's very, very unique. For example, the Phala team demonstrate like a privacy layer, so we can start to see like one parachain asset and teleport it to the privacy layer and become a privacy asset. So I think that's something that's super interesting, and that might be the new possibility that we can start to see. I do expect the Polkadot's ecosystem grow and grow fast, but I really don't think at a scale that maybe by the end of the year that we can take over. But the thing is that it's like the point I see it is that this whole movement, this whole decentralized finance movement is very, very early on, right? So there's like a huge growing pie for, well, I'm going to be honest, I think it's going to replace the whole financial sector. So we are still in a very early stage. And each one of us working on this sector is just like reinforcing this idea, preaching this idea to the world. So in that sense, I would see that, I'd rather to see that we grow together rather than say, hey, it's taking over or something like that.
I agree. Yeah, Aiden, what are your thoughts on kind of long term for, or end of the year at least, for DeFi on Polkadot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make like predictions about whether or not I think Ethereum is going to take over. I think it's very unlikely, but I do think that like as soon as Parachains are launched and within 2 or 3 months of people starting to connect to each other, there'll be like a lot of flow happening between Polkadot and Ethereum, and a lot of flow kind of moving across Parachains. And so I imagine that like maybe not in terms of TVL like overtaking Ethereum, but in terms of kind of transactions and usage and like people playing with things, I could imagine it scaling like pretty quickly in that sense.
Interesting. Lucas, wanna make your predictions on what Polkadot and Ethereum?
I mean, maybe the one prediction I will make as well, but I expect Parachains to be live by then. But maybe to come back to your first question, but no, I would say, yeah, I think sort of barring of like some like every long crypto bet I've made in my life, I've probably been wrong about. So I don't want to say too much. But the thing I have seen is sort of the DeFi ecosystem in Ethereum developing was, and I think it's really important, was accelerated by like just the whole community coming around the ERC20 token. And it sort of happened naturally. And we had this like suddenly this number of tokens after the 2017 ICO boom that like people started doing things with and experimenting with. And it still took then like from 2018 to 2019, and it's like sort of started growing, and like last summer it was like really exploding, and it's been going ever since. But sort of we've seen this whole journey for Ethereum, and I think we can learn as like the Polkadot community, we can learn a lot from that. I think the thing we can learn from it, and where we can make sure that we don't go through this long and slow like ramp up phase before we get the hockey stick, right? Is we make sure we actually can standardize around something and actually collaborate from very early on, because that's always something the project that like DeFi and Ethereum profited hugely of, right? And then we can look at like all these other developments that are happening in Ethereum. We'll have like so much of the necessary pieces already figured out that just didn't exist, right? Like how long did it take for the first stablecoin to go live? How long did it take for the second one? How long did it take for the first AMM to go live? And so like we're starting with like a big head start here, right? And so I think that can be something that we focus on and sort of bootstrap this ecosystem.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Ethereum has paved the way for other DeFi ecosystems, kind of building the key infrastructure pieces, and then everyone can learn from that and improve, hopefully. So is there like something like an ERC20 token standard on Polkadot, or not yet, like a token standard?
I think there's not equivalent to that, because it's like Chen talking to Chen, but there's like a group of community projects working towards something that's like token. I wouldn't call it a token standard. It's more of like value transfer across different chain, of course, with different network.
Okay. Super interesting. Okay, so we need to wrap up so I can chat with the other founders. But super interesting. I'll be keeping track of what you guys build, and yeah, and I'll be covering it on the Defiant as well. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, Cami.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm going to invite now Derek from Moonbeam, Hong from Phala, Alexei from Interlay, and then Sota from Plasm. In the meantime, Cami, is there anywhere that you'd like people to go to follow you or keep track of what you're working on? I know people have sent out some links to your Twitter and your newsletter. Is there anything else that we can watch out for?
I think that's kind of the main thing. Go to the Defiant.io. It's our website, and there you can find the newsletter, the YouTube channel, the podcast, all the articles we put out every day. So yeah, follow that to keep track of DeFi. Okay, great. So here's our next panel. So yeah, we have Derek from Moonbeam, Alexei from Interlay, Sota, is that
Yep.
right? Okay,
Sota.
sorry. Sota from Plasm, and Hang from Phala. Super interesting seeing all your presentations. Again, it's like really mind-blowing, all the building and development that's happening on Polkadot. Super excited to see everything live. So I'll start with the same question I did for the previous panel. And yeah, where in kind of each of your development phases are you, and do you expect to be live as soon as Parachains the Parachain auction happens? Derek, do you want to start?
Sure thing. Yeah. So I would say that largely similar to some of the responses you got from the previous panelists, we are working hard to be kind of ready to go when the Parachain auctions start. I think it was also mentioned that I know Parity has this policy of kind of it's ready when it's ready. So that always takes a little bit of creative juggling to kind of plan around. But we see kind of a ton of great progress happening on the development side, and in particular, I think the key area for us is this development of Cumulus and making sure that it has all the features and stability that are needed to launch. And I anticipate that happening relatively soon. And we want to be among ready to go among the first Parachains as those auctions start.
Okay. Alexei?
Sure. I think we're all in the same boat. As for Interlay and Polkadot, we just launched our beta testnet. That's kind of the system being feature ready. From now on, it's tweaks, improvements of the UX, and fuzz testing, making sure it's robust. But we'll be ready to go whenever Kusama and Polkadot launch. So from now on, it's just making sure the system's robust and we keep improving and adding integrations.
Okay, cool. And sorry, for Moonbeam, there's also a beta that people can start building on now, right?
Oh, sure. We've had a testnet since September, basically, like where we have teams like Sushi, who you heard from before, and other many other teams that are deploying their applications to it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So Sota?
Yep. I can go next. So I think before talking about Kusama network and Polkadot network, we have to make Rococo network stable. So there are a lot of problems on the Rococo testnet. So we're going to do our best to solve them with Parity Technologies and Web3 Foundation. And if I understand correctly, the Kumonguto Parachain will be connected first. So probably Polkadot BTC will be connected first or something like that. Then the Parachain auction will be happening. So yeah, what we have to do is to make Rococo stable with Web3 Foundation, Parity Technologies, and all the community members.
Okay. Okay, so still some development before you're ready to go. Okay. Okay, and then finally Hang.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In the past, we have spent a lot of time designing the token economic to be compatible with the slot auction. So actually, this is the most complicated part, I think, in terms of the I mean, compared with the technology, maybe the economic is even more complicated. But of course, in terms of the technology, I think there are still something we need to prepare. And at the same time, I think Parity is still working very hard to fill the last few things. So, for example, like the stability. So recently, we're experiencing some small problems. So maybe in the next week or so, Rococo could be reset, and then I think it will be much better. And we already seen in this iteration is already much better than the first Rococo V1. Now it's the second generation Rococo V1. Yeah, and of course another thing is related to the performance. And actually, I think this is especially important for us. In the last months, we did a testnet. It's just a standalone substrate blockchain. And in the testnet, because our special topology and the design, we have like more than 2 million transactions in that month. So it means that if we switch to a parachain, and I expect it will have some influence in terms of the performance. Yeah, and the last one I think is the accessibility. Now I think it's almost the Parachain architecture is almost ready, but we still cannot access the data from the relay chain. But and this is already planned, and I think it will be very important for us to build a fully decentralized, like the incentive for the slot auction will take use of this feature. Yeah.
Okay. So you all are building are part of the infrastructure to enable different dApps to come live on Polkadot. So just stepping back a little bit, why should developers be building on Polkadot in the first place? Like, what are the advantages that this chain and I guess ecosystem of chains provides that other layer ones don't?
I can jump in on that for some first thoughts. That I mean, I think what we're seeing is obviously almost all the existing activities on Ethereum. So that's kind of where most of the existing developer activity is. But there's definitely kind of a push and a pull going on, right? So the push, as was mentioned, by some of the previous panelists, is $100 transaction fees, $300 DeFi fees. That I think makes people open-minded, because there's certainly some users and use cases that are difficult to serve in that setting. But the pull is that I think people are interested. We're finding people to be quite interested in Polkadot, right? I mean, I think outside of Ethereum, it's definitely the place that has the most organic kind of developer activity going on. Like I would call it the richest kind of ecosystem. So particularly a lot of the people we're working with, they want to be a first mover in this new and growing ecosystem. They want to be able to service all of these assets that are being created in this new ecosystem. So I think that's the pull part, that it's is just as powerful, that's causing people to kind of shift over, to be looking very carefully to figuring out their deployment plans.
That's interesting, because I think the common argument for Ethereum is its community, but you're saying that Polkadot is creating its own kind of organic native community that is also becoming kind of a moat for it.
I mean, maybe I'm a little biased because I'm obviously in it, but I mean, I would say that it certainly has this kind of organic. It has an Ethereum-like feel, I think, in the sense that there's a lot of organic teams. There's a lot of it's not just kind of corporate. It's like nights and weekends people that are just kind of building because they want to, because it's fun. I mean, these are the kind of things that I think you don't see in a lot of other layer ones.
Cool. Alexei, do you wanna?
Sure. I mean, I think like that summarizes it pretty well. I've been doing a lot of research in this space for some time now, and I do think like the community on Ethereum has been growing very fast, but it also had its start, right? You have to start somewhere. And what I do see, like working with Polkadot, is that the community is growing very quickly, and I think that there's been a lot of effort to get people involved, to make it understandable, and actually get people interested in the projects. I mean, from our personal experience, I mean, we were super surprised. I mean, we've had I think nearly 8,500 people running our testnet over like 2.5 days. I mean, it's quite amazing that people actually are willing to go download like a testnet Bitcoin and actually try them out on Polkadot on testnet. And I think that kind of speaks for itself. So I do think that the community is super strong. It's taking a step back and looking at the general outlook. I think, like, if you look at the market right now, I mean, obviously Ethereum fees are super high. We've seen this before, but now you have alternatives, right? I mean, you've seen what Binance has been doing very successfully, in fact, with PancakeSwap and alternatives. And then we have Solana kind of also moving into the game with their own EMM. But these chains, I guess, don't offer you the same community and also like decentralization benefits. So my feeling is that there is this moment right now, and it's not going to last forever, when Polkadot can actually deploy and move into the system, and it will actually be able to gain a lot of traction. But the moment, obviously, is not going to last forever. So I do think that we have a limited amount of time to get everything running, get the users onto the system, and show that it actually works and that it can compete with centralized platforms, perhaps even.
So it's interesting that right now, I think we are at a very kind of special and conductive moment into Ethereum alternatives launching because of how high the fees are there, and you know, it's like so many people are using Ethereum that it's become unusable for at least part of users. So in that sense, it seems like the right moment for Ethereum alternatives to launch. But Polkadot is still kind of almost there, but not yet. So how do you guys kind of manage that? Like how do you kind of take advantage of this moment without being able to go actually live? It must be a little bit frustrating. So I don't know if you want to.
I can go first. This is a tough question, but you know, one of the great things of being community is the legit project connected each other. So I know Derek and the Alexei and Ham for a while, more than I think 1 or 2 years. So yeah, so ecosystem is still too small to compete. So we can make it bigger together. And I would like to make Polkadot much bigger, the ecosystem much bigger with the community members, as well as Web3 Foundation and Parity Technologies. So the good thing is we are still early stage, so we can 100% focus on technology rather than just stupid marketing stuff. So this is our advantage, I think. And the technology make difference in the long run. So that's why we should focus on the technology. And Polkadot has obviously advancing technology, so we would like to catch up, and we would like to make it better and better together. I don't know I answered the question, but yeah, this is my comments.
Yeah, no, totally. Hank, do you have something to add about any of the two previous questions?
Yeah. Can you hear? I see it's okay. Yeah. So actually, I think Polkadot is quite different from other projects. Like the other project is more like we want to make a platform and want everyone to move into this platform, and this is it may not be a good description, but to me, I think it's like App Store or Play Store. So they want to build a barrier. And I don't like this feeling. And on Polkadot is completely different, because the teams building on Polkadot is Parachain, and we can connect with each other, and we offer our own capability to other blockchains. And I think the interoperability is the core of Polkadot ecosystem. And at the same time, I think this is the only unique feature offered by Polkadot. So to me, I think this is also the biggest reason we want to build on Polkadot rather than other protocols. Yeah, so I think so far, although Parachain is not launched and we have actually we have more time to develop, focus on the development, just as said by Sota. But I expect once Polkadot is launched, it will be huge, because we can do a lot of things that has never it was never possible in the past.
Hmm. Can you go deeper on that? Like, and the same question goes for everyone else. What are some of the things that you expect to build on Polkadot that just weren't possible before on other chains?
Yeah, I think the one of the most interesting use case will be DEX, decentralized exchange. So let's say if I develop DEX on the top of Ethereum, we can, exchange not only ERC20 token and ETH. So if you develop, DEX on the top of Polkadot, since a lot of blockchain will be connected, we can exchange Bitcoin to Ethereum, Parachains token to Parachains token. So, so this is gonna be huge, I think. This is, very easy use case on the top of Polkadot.
I'll chime in here that, it's a little bit of a riff on one of the ideas that came up earlier that, kind of the why, what is it that's different about Polkadot? And, I think community is part of it, but, there's this kind of, I've been thinking about this lately. There's this idea called Conway's Law, right? That there's this kind of connection between the structure of, or kind of the architecture of software and the organizations that like use it or build it. And this is something I think is quite unique about Polkadot, where, every blockchain, you're kind of creating this community and you get this emergent phenomenon of something emerges that's like kind of greater than the sum of its parts. But, in Polkadot, it's almost like this superstructure, right? I've heard people say it's a layer 0, or it's, they're using this different terminology. It's a little bit hard to understand, but it is kind of this idea where each of us here on the screen, each have our own project that are doing that, but then we're all kind of together then building some like larger thing, right? It feels like you're part of something larger. So I do think that that's something that's, that is unique here. And that's like one of the powerful ideas that I think helps organize like the community, in a way that is different. It's like the structure of the software lends itself to this organization of the community in a way that maybe isn't the case with other platforms.
Yeah, I think that's always the case when just starting something out and being there first. I think it must be super exciting for dApp developers. Alex, I don't know if you had something to add about the previous questions.
Sure. I guess it's a tough question, right? Like, what makes Polkadot special? What can we build? We cannot build on Ethereum other chains. And I think it's a tough one. And I think also it's probably not exactly the question we should be asking ourselves. It's not about the applications, but on the technological side, it's like the main benefit on Polkadot is that you can customize your execution environment. Now we'll be able to build the same applications like DEXs, like on Ethereum, and AMM is definitely a 0 to 1 invention, but potentially you can move towards more traditional models which have less problems, like avoided permanent loss, for example, or even manage to build some form of order book system on top of Polkadot. But then again, it's a very tough question to answer and predict. What we can see right now, for example, is that when building new applications, you have much more flexibility. From our example, we were able to build an on-chain key derivation mechanism to derive Bitcoin addresses, essentially what your wallets typically would do off-chain on Polkadot on-chain. This is impossible on Ethereum. The costs of doing elliptic curve operations on the VM are way too high and would kill the application. But we can now actually say, okay, we're not going to optimize each line of code at the cost of usability, but we can actually make sure that the users have a better experience and still not actually slow down the entire system and make the application unusable because of performance bottlenecks. So I think that's, at the moment, the largest benefit. You can customize what you're building. You can optimize for the specific thing that you want, rather than having to work with this universal toolkit, which I think, like the EVM, is a brilliant thing that we had and we still have. A lot of projects are deploying EVMs on top of their parachains because it is so easy for developers to get in, to build on the system. But if you want to dig in deeper, and if you actually want to build something more complex, I think that's when you actually will want to go for Parachain. And then, of course, you have the argument for Rust and Wasm over Solidity and the EVM in the long term. But that's I think, a bet people will have to take.
Right. Yeah. So there's kind of the overlying over like the broad theme I've heard today is how specialization will win in the end, and people will want kind of these more these kind of blockchains that you can modify to your own projects features and needs. So yeah, definitely will be interesting to see how that develops. And Alexei, I just had a specific question on the Bitcoin bridge, because I think kind of the main issue with these bridges are how they need to trust who is controlling the assets in the bridge. So just wanted to clarify that with Interlay. How what level of control does the team have over the assets being held on the bridge, on like Bitcoin being transferred to the bridge?
But we don't have any control at all. So like Xclaim is a paper that we released in 2018. It's actually been peer reviewed and accepted at a top-tier conference. And the main contribution was that anyone can run on one of these vaults if they put down collateral. So users have the guarantee that if someone misbehaves, they'll get, at least they will kind of have some financial guarantees that they won't lose from an economic perspective. Interlay as a team, okay, we might run one of these vaults, but so can anybody else. There is no restrictions. You don't have to buy any tokens to participate. And as for the Parachain itself, it will be running under Polkadot's governance mechanism. I can't say too much at this stage, but we are going for we are actually looking to make this system that's available for common good, without going into too much detail there. So Interlay won't have full control over this, and that's not our vision, and we don't want to have control over it. So the idea is to have it decentralized from the start. And what I can say, like, we will never be able to steal any users' funds, and we never want to be able even to have the possibility of doing that.
Okay, so anyone can control vaults, and what's the incentive for controlling vaults?
So right now, basically, I mean, you earn fees off the total volume that goes to the Parachain. Okay. And then there will be models for additional incentives for vaults in collaboration with Polkadot. Plus, of course, staking derivatives are a very interesting aspect that we're exploring at the moment. So essentially what's going to most likely happen is you'll be able to reuse the collateral that you put down as a vault, either through Legion staking for Parachain auctions or other mechanisms. And you'll essentially have exposure to different APIs, so it'll be additive. You contribute to the Polkadot and also Polkabdc at the same time.
Okay, so people can stake right now?
So, I mean, right now you can run a vault. It's on beta, vaults are open source. You can go and register the vault, request test and dot from the faucet, and you're good to go. I mean, of course, it's still in beta, so it doesn't have economic value. But we're really looking forward to getting this up to speed on Chrysanthemum as well. And then on Dot.
Cool. And then I had a specific question on Phala too, the privacy network. I think I got kind of a little bit lost in the presentation, and was wondering for the user to have like private transactions and interactions with different dApps. Is having a Phala-based wallet basically what like the thing that you need to have private transactions, or is there an additional step that you need to do?
Yeah, of course, there are some problems if you don't have a special kind of wallet, because like if you interact with some Parachain directly, you create a transaction, sign it, and broadcast it to the Parachain, and that's all. But for us, because we want to maintain the confidentiality, so at least before you submit something to our blockchain, you need to encrypt it. And before you encrypt it, you need a key, right? So the key is made from some key agreement protocol between the end user and the secure enclave. So in this if in this perspective, and that the answer is yes. So if any protocol wants to interact with us, at least their user side will need to integrate with our SDK. But we have two ways to interact with the different Parachains. The one way is like you can use XCM to send some message, but maybe the content of the message is already end-to-end encrypted, and it is done by some SDK in like user's wallet or browser. Another way is that if some data is already on Phala network, and user can interact with Phala network directly. So in this way, actually they talk to the secure enclave rather than our blockchain. We separate the consensus and the computation, so everything happens off the blockchain, and it can make the performance even better.
Okay, got it. And then questions for Sota and Derek. So you're providing like platforms for dApps to build on Polkadot, and you already have like some teams building there. So curious, what are the next projects, either like whether they're Ethereum based or new projects that you are seeing coming to your platforms? Like, what do you think will be the first dApps to come live on Polkadot? Whoever, Sota, do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think this is a great question. Actually one of the frequently asked question from investor is what is the difference between Moonbeam and Plasm? So yeah, but ecosystem is still too small to compete, so we can be gathered together. So yeah, I respect what Derek is doing in the ecosystem. And in terms of the collaboration and the announcement, we decided not to announce the partnership and the collaboration without code, without demo, and without MVP, minimum viable product. And we have some upcoming collaboration and partnership. And some project I don't want to disclose some of the project, but one project I can disclose is Microsoft. So we are talking with Microsoft Japan, and it will be disclosed very soon.
And what's Microsoft doing?
Yeah, they are providing infrastructure for the Plasm network, and we are doing together to make the node service. Then anyone can deploy validator on the top of Plasm network. This is not a dApps, but very important function in the community.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you work with Microsoft for Microsoft to help run the you said the nodes on your network?
by using Azure.
Okay, and any dApps you can disclose, or I guess like sectors, like I don't know, you can say like a lending protocol.
Next lending are coming.
Okay, so secretive. All right. Okay. Derek, and by the way, like super interesting to see Sushiswap and Balancer already building on Moonbeam. So what else can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, there's a lot of individual projects, but if I were just talk broadly, I would say that, it's certainly the case that DeFi, like the DeFi sector is like where we found the most traction. And just to step back, I mean, our strategy is basically to approach Ethereum-based projects as natural partners, because given our Ethereum-compatible approach, there's kind of minimal change needed on their end to be able to deploy to Moonbeam, and then in doing so have a Polkadot-based deployment. But certainly DeFi, I would say they're the most aggressive to adopt, I think. And one of the reasons I think is that they, when it comes to these UX, kind of concerns that Alexei was talking about, I feel like a lot of the DeFi people actually don't care as much about that. Their users are like power users, and there can be pretty big obstacles, and the people kind of like plow through, right? So I think that that's kind of like they're definitely like they're the place where we got the first adoption. Although I will say that I'm pretty bullish on the NFT sector as well. So I think that this same kind of dynamic we talked about before is certainly affecting NFT-based projects on Ethereum, where you have $100 transaction fee. Well, what does that mean for NFT assets that cost less than $100? I mean, they're a little bit stranded. So I think that one pattern that we've seen is that at minimum people want to potentially have multiple backends where they can mint these things, and then even offer the user a choice, right, to say, well, where do you want to create this thing? And maybe there's some trade-offs to be considered, like it's expensive on Ethereum, but maybe there's more potential buyers in other NFT compatible systems, but maybe you want for a less expensive one, it makes more sense to go to a place where it's going to be cheaper to mint, and obviously that may make sense for other use cases.
Yeah, and Cami, I would like to talk about NFT as well. So luckily I'm Japanese, even though I'm in Singapore. So we have a lot of content such as manga, anime, and so on. So we are talking with a lot of NFT project in Japan, and they are interested in the Polkadot ecosystem to deploy an NFT use case.
I think, yeah, like manga and NFTs are like a dream combination. So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, will be cool to see that on Polkadot. So we are running out of time. I actually have to jump on something else in 5 minutes. So I want to ask you a similar question to the last panel. Just your longer term vision for Polkadot, either DeFi on Polkadot or just Web3 on Polkadot. Where do you see it by the end of the year, and where do you see it just 10 years from now?
I'll jump in. I throw my hat in the ring to start.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think right now, we're just seeing kind of this like straight porting action. At least that's what we're seeing, right? So someone has an app, it's fully working on Ethereum. They'd want to just port the whole thing, to something like Moonbeam or Plasm, even. So that's kind of what I still consider to be a little bit like generation one, kind of architecture. I mean, the thing I'm probably most excited about on Polkadot comes from this like specialized infrastructural chains, right? So I anticipate that there's going to be multi-chain based applications, that will use different specialized services just natively on Polkadot, and I think that's gonna, those are going to be the kind of apps that will really take advantage of this ability to have these like specialized like different services. I think that's still relatively early, and there's obviously these very well trodden kind of existing patterns that like people are already used to, but that's kind of what I see. That's kind of what I see like moving forward. That is, I'm most excited about, I'd say.
Cool. Alexei, want to go?
Well, I guess, end of the year we'll be live. That's definitely, yeah, there is no alternative. Let's put it this way. And in 10 years, I think I probably put my bet on Polkadot essentially being this multi-chain infrastructure where you have specialized chains and different applications, where it's moving away from this generalized kind of smart contract layers, we'll have more and more people and more applications coming in building very dedicated services. For example, DEXs, which focus on the low level and basically optimize for high frequency trading and make sure that they can actually squeeze out the last bit out of like these execution moments.
Yeah, no,
and
that makes sense.
I can go next. So I think we have a really important role in the ecosystem. Actually, I don't know the future. We do not predict the future. We make the future. So we're gonna do our best to realize Web 3.0 together with our ecosystem member. Sorry for the simple answer.
I love it.
I think in the late this year, I think DeFi will still be the most valuable use cases on Polkadot as well as the other blockchains. But in the long run, I think in like 10 years, of course, DeFi it targets the very high value users and very high value use cases, but because of the good architecture provided by Polkadot, and we can extend to multiple blockchains, and it makes it possible to do computations on the blockchain, and it maybe in the future will make it possible to store a large amount of file in some kinds of decentralized network. So if we combine them together, it means that maybe in the future the cloud computing will be fully decentralized, and I think this is I think it will be the next huge thing for blockchain. Yeah, and I think this is this is the original vision of Web3.
Very cool. Okay, so a decentralized future, an interconnected future, a specialized future, and I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. We don't predict the future, we make it. So very nice. All right, so interesting chatting with all of you, and thanks for inviting me, Ashley, if you're somewhere there, to moderate. I had a blast. So bye everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Cami. Thanks everybody for joining.
Cami.
Ashley back on so we can wrap it up. But so that's it for the day. And thanks again to everyone who joined the panels and Cami for running the panel. Hopefully you all learned a lot today. It was super exciting for me also to see the bridges in the beginning, starting with Snowfork and Interlay, and then working through the 5 Parachain teams. Just to quickly summarize, we had Acala, Centrifuge, Moonbeam, Phala, and Plasm. So thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks for all the teams who helped us organize this along the way, including Ashley. Ashley, if you want to say anything, and then we can wrap it up.
Well, props go to Dan. I was in the middle of an apocalypse in Texas. I don't know if you guys heard about that. And Dan just like came through and made all this happen. It's really a collective effort, though. It's truly a community event. All these amazing together, and it's really great to see you all here. So thank you for bringing the energy and the positivity and the good chat room comments, and we're looking forward to doing it again, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here next time.
Awesome.
Bye, y'all.
Everybody have a good day or a good night. See you soon.
Adios.